got till it's gone. It'd be a paradise, put up a parking lot.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Watchdog, the afternoon drive. I am Big Rick DeRubis in my back to my Wednesday spot. Lola, it's good to see you again.
Thank you. You too.
Playing the Counting Crows. That reminds me, the Counting Crows actually played a role in something that normally going to a concert is a good thing, right? Yeah. The Counting Crows, I went to see them in the Wallflowers, which is Bob Dylan's kid, Jacob Dylan.
Yeah.
And I had tickets to the Pirate game that night, and I chose to go to the concert. That night, the Pirates throw a 10-inning no-hitter. Ricardo Rincon and Francisco Cordova. I went on a date to that concert, and then I got in my truck on the way back, and we're in the parking lot waiting to get out at what was then Star Lake Amphitheater, and I hear the news, the Pirates throw a 10-inning no-hitter, and I was on the worst date ever. So that's what that reminded me of. Thanks for bringing up those painful memories, Lola.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
It's all right. I'm just kidding. Again, I mentioned I am Big Rick, or Rick DeRubis, whatever you prefer to call me. Happy to be here back in my Wednesday spot. And today is a very special day here in America. It is Veterans Day. And I've got some veterans facts for you because I have so many. I actually thought, Lola, that we would start this show, and I was going to try to name off and write. I started to make a list of all the people in my life that are veterans and have served, and then I realized it would take up an entire segment just to rattle off that list of names. You can never underestimate how many people that you know, even if you kind of forget. I mean, a lot of people transition after their 4 years into different lives, and some go career, but a lot of people in your life that you may just kind of, I don't want to say forget, but I mean, 4 years is a long time to do anything, so maybe it wasn't the biggest, most significant part of someone's, someone's long-term work history being in the military. But so many people in your life have been a part of this, and I did want to mention these couple of stats because I thought, you know what, I should probably learn a little bit more about this, as so many of my friends and family are veterans, and this is a staggering number. 19.5 million veterans in the United States. 19.5 million. Only 2 million of them are female. I was kind of surprised by that number, with 19.5 million being the number of veterans. But 2 million female veterans out there, and more than 9 million of those veterans are over 65. So make sure that what you do, take care of veterans. Say thank you to veterans. This morning I called a friend of mine, arguably one of my best friends. I think we're, at 43 years old, we kind of throw the term best friends out there. Yeah. It's like, it sounds kind of silly. It's best friend sounds like something you have like in the ninth grade.
Yeah,
but
BFF.
My BFF. But he's certainly, if that's such a thing for 43-year-old guys, I mean, he's essentially my BFF. And I, as I do every year, thank him for his service. And he said, I want to just throw this back at you. And I thought it was so poignant, especially where we are today, not just in 2020 and the weirdness of that, but where we are with politics and hatred and everybody swinging at everybody and taking offense to everything. Said, if you want to thank a soldier, be the kind of American worth fighting for. And I thought it was so incredibly poignant.
Yes, it is.
That was the response, because being on different sides of the fence is what makes this country great. Options and opportunities are what make this country great. You don't have to agree. You just have to be decent. You can disagree and honestly, it leans different politically than I do. He's still one of my best friends, because at the end of the day, day-to-day politics don't really have to interfere with your friendships. So I just thought that was interesting. Be the kind of American worth fighting for. I thought that was a great response.
Yes, it is. That's very, very true.
Yeah.
I mean, especially right now, where we are so polarized and things are just so ugly. And I am so glad I stay off of social media.
Well, I hate to break it to you. A little later in the show, we're going to do a segment on a new form of social media that has become the number one most downloaded app in social media land. It's we're going to talk about Parler. If you've been seeing this places or hearing about it, you're not sure what it is, we're going to dive into that a little bit later on the show. Other things we're going to talk about on the show today. Stephen Allen Adams is going to join us from Ogden Newspapers, writes for The Intelligencer. Obviously, the COVID cases in West Virginia have been soaring. It could equal some football teams and football games not happening and things like that. We're going to get into that with Steve, as well as some Affordable Health Care Act stuff. And also, just a few minutes before we went on, Governor Justice did not acknowledge that Joe Biden was the president-elect in his latest conversation. So we'll get into that with Steve. I mean, we'll go to the most qualified person we have for that, and that would probably be Steve to go over state politics. And then in the 4 o'clock hour today, it's number 29 in your program, but number 1 in your heart, the old 2-9er, Phil Bork, going to call us and talk about the state of the Penguins and what it looks like for hockey. We usually have DJ on, but from the Nailers. But I thought maybe we'd go to the source today and get to the Penguins and see how maybe that trickles down into the Wheeling Nailer effect throughout the course of that season. Of course, Nailers, keep in mind, start December 12th at West Banco Arena. But let's get back to the veteran talk as we start the show. This, you want to know where it came from, was it essentially started in 1919. President Woodrow Wilson proclaims November 11th as Armistice Day. And then, of course, there's quite a few things that continue to lead to it. But in 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower signs a bill changing it to Veterans Day in order to include all U.S. veterans. So that was in 1954. So that I thought, like, we all say it so casually. Yes, we do. I think it's Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day. Well, it should have a hell of a lot more meaning than just words. It's not lip service. You know, and West Virginia has such a high concentration of veterans per capita. I think it's one of the highest per capita in the nation. So it really rings true here just about more than anywhere else in any other state, how important it is to be thinking about veterans. And nothing hits me harder than to see veterans in need of help and not getting it. And there are a lot of wonderful programs out there that do help veterans, but with 19.5 million veterans in this country, it's hard to get all of them. So if you have the capabilities or you know of a veteran in need, pick up the phone on their behalf, call one of these organizations, and let them know there's a veteran that could use their help, because they're out there. Mm-hmm. Whether it's mental health, whether it's just getting something to eat, getting back on their feet, and do that. Speaking of something to eat, this is a big list, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but there are quite a few places that Veterans Day freebies are available. Yeah. And take advantage of it. If you're a veteran, you earned it. Let Applebee's buy you a meal. Absolutely. I mean, seriously. Veterans have gone through things, and this story is different for everybody. I have a friend. I'm just trying to weave in some of the things that the close personal veteran stories into my life, and I hope you'll do the same, Lowell. And if you want to share, you want to give a shout out to a veteran today, we got the text line up, right? Yeah. 304-214-1600. You can call that number, or you can text us 304-214-1600. If you want us to thank a particular veteran during the next couple of hours, we're happy to do that. But I think about some of the stories that some of my friends have told me over the years that are veterans, and you know, I can't imagine the things that they keep inside. Because some of the things they've said that I'm not going to talk about on the air, I know they're very personal to some of them, but the things that they keep inside have to be things that, you know, that I just straight up can't imagine. I had a very good friend, just talked to him the other day, actually. Talked to him on, I guess it was Saturday. And he went from the Army, he went to West Point, and then he went to, I served in Iraq, and then came home and became an FBI agent. He does that now in Texas. And we talked over the weekend, and the stories he would tell me. I remember being, we were young men, 19 years old, when he went to West Point. He went to Penn State for a year, and then finally got into and accepted to West Point. And he would write me letters from boot camp. And I mean, we're talking about, so I could be the furthest thing from being a veteran or being able to serve in the military. I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm a chicken compared to these men and women. But I remember him, like, I was in tears when he left because I was worried about him.
Yeah.
When you're 18, the people that choose to face this life for no matter how long they choose to face it for, some 40 years, some maybe just the minimum amount of service, but still, if you're not willing to do it, I think you're not allowed to say anything about it.
Absolutely.
That 100%. But when I remember when he was leaving, and I was like crushed because I'm like, he's going to West Point, which was amazing, was his dream. West Point is very difficult to get into. You got to be like in the top 1% of humans on the planet to get in there.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just, and he was that guy, and he starts writing me letters because that's all he could do. There was no phone or anything like that, and was talking about, and he was in the excitement I could read about how today we got to go into the gas chamber and we had to take our masks off for X number of time and then, still maintain our faculties. Like everything you would never think that someone would have to go through. Here he's gleefully writing about. He was like, it was so cool. Blah, blah, blah. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing. And so, as he went through the course of his service, one of the things that he has, and I'm not saying his name on purpose. It's not that I don't want to give him all the credit in the world, but one of the things he had that I just found to be absolutely remarkable is he has a picture of himself sitting in one of Saddam Hussein's thrones. And I think to myself, watching, we watched the whole thing happen in Iraq. We watched it on the news. I mean, we were, at that point, we essentially had a 24-hour news cycle that we could watch, essentially like a mini-series event with the conflict with Saddam Hussein and all those. We watched it on television. And here is a friend of mine that I grew up with, a guy that I shared every stupid high school thing you could do with. We shared a limo to the prom with our dates. We went out to eat. We snuck our first beers together. We did all those things together. And here I am sitting at home trying to figure out how to become a radio personality. And here's him with a picture sitting in Saddam Hussein's throne. That, to me, I would never pay the price to get that picture, but he paid the price to get that picture, and I'm glad he has it. What an amazing thing. And he doesn't overly share it. It's not like a blown up, it's not a 16 by 20 in his living room or anything, but it's just an amazing thing and how the story that brought him to that moment came up. It fascinates me. So again, I can't thank veterans enough. I do want to tell you though, if you are a veteran or you are a family member of a veteran, take them out tonight. Let Applebee's buy them dinner. They're going to do that. Also, Chili's is offering a free meal tonight. Cracker Barrel, Denny's, Dunkin' Donuts on the list. Little Caesars, McDonald's, Olive Garden, Quaker Steak, Red Lobster, Red Robin, Starbucks, Texas Roadhouse, all offering freebies today to the military. And thank you to them for doing that. Thank you for all the military who serve for doing what you've done. Anybody want to shout out, Lola?
Well, my ex, I had a lot of friends that were in Vietnam. And, of course, their experiences were entirely different coming home.
Certainly.
And they didn't talk at all about when they were in country. But, some of the stories from Saigon and places like that were amusing. But, I've had my Navy is a big one in our family, and my ex-husband was in the Air Force. So, but most of it was during Vietnam, which was an uber scary time.
Sure.
And then, a friend of mine's son signs up for the Army and goes to basic training, and 2 weeks later, 9/11 happens, and boom, 8 weeks later, he's gone. He was sent overseas. So, yeah, there's quite a few people.
What I love about doing the show with you is you have more life experience than I have. And so the people that you talked to when they came back were from Vietnam, and those people got treated terribly.
Oh,
I
yes,
mean,
they did.
an unfortunate black mark on America, the way that they treated Vietnam vets. Those guys did what they were told to do.
That's right.
They didn't make that.
And they didn't have, a lot of them did not have a choice.
Exactly.
They were drafted, and, there was virtually nothing that they could do.
No, and the decisions that were made were not made by the guy that you went to high school with that got drafted, into Vietnam or things like that. And just, I'll never understand how America turned its back on Vietnam veterans. The idea that they went and did what they had to do, they weren't making that call. And I that'll always bother me. I mean, you see, and it's been portrayed in a lot of movies, the way that Vietnam veterans were treated when they came back to America. I mean, the first one that pops into my head was Rambo. Rambo, for all the blood and the killing and the guts and all those things that you may or may not like about the film, was very poignant in the fact that John J. Rambo was treated poorly and forgotten. And yeah, it became an incredibly large movie series. But if you scale it down to its most simple form, that beginning of that story happened to a lot of men that came back.
I think part of this is just me, from, being around at that time. It was such an unpopular war. And then we had the draft. And then you had all of the anti-war protests and all the offshoot groups like the SDS and things that came out of that. And it was the first war that was on TV.
Yeah.
And so there were things that were being filmed and shown nightly on the news that, to all of us at home, were like, oh my God.
Sure.
And I think all that contributed to it, because you had a whole section of society that was steadfastly against the war. I don't know what they thought the soldiers would have been able to do. Soldiers do not revolt, but it was all that sentiment and anger coming all together all at once. And then you also had, just before that, the civil rights movement was getting started. People were being, civil rights leaders were being assassinated. So it was this confluence of society and politics and anger and frustration, and then it's all over the news in color.
I'm glad, this was not where I wanted to go with this, but what you just said makes me want to ask you this question as someone who's a bit younger to someone with more experience. Do you think, in your opinion, that the 2020, not necessarily the pandemic, but just the upheaval in the world? I have so many friends that think that this is the end. Things are never going to be normal again. And again, it's not just pandemic I'm talking about here. I think a lot of people that are my age and younger, because really the most pivotal moment in American history in my lifetime was 9/11.
Yeah.
And that is what everybody that is my age and in their late 30s to mid 40s pinpoints and goes, this is the worst day in the history of America in my life. I think my generation missed the point. America has been down before and has risen up from it. And in my estimation, from all the people that I know, my grandparents are long gone. But I think people that are my age don't realize the turmoil of the time during the Vietnam War. I don't think they realize that America has been in a bad spot before with one another, with other countries, at each other's throats. People can't agree. You have people getting assassinated. You have things that it's been bad before, and it's been able to get better again. How does this compare to you, what we're going through now?
I think in the aftermath, when we finally got out of Vietnam and the country had leaders that worked hard at reconciliation between all the kind of infighting that was going on. And I think that's what we need now is reconciliation, acknowledging both sides' feelings, and they did do that back in the 60s, 70s. And it's going to take people to realize that the world's not going to come to an end.
No, it's not.
The sun came up Wednesday morning, and it will keep coming up every day. But it's going to take cooler heads to prevail. This allowing anger, bitterness, abject dissent, and lies, it's got to stop. And we have to take a step back and realize, like you said earlier, we're all Americans.
Yeah.
And there isn't anything we can't work through if cooler heads prevail. And you have, on both sides, you've got to stop fueling it. You have to stop feeding it. And I'm not saying that as a Democrat or as a Republican. It happens through both parties and then some. You have to, at some point, just say, look, these are the things that we agree on. These are the things we disagree on. How can we work together? That's what politics is the art of compromise.
Sure.
And until we get some more civil, I should say, civil leadership, it's not gonna get better in the short term. It will in the long term.
It will.
I mean,
will.
all this fear mongering going on both sides. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And social media plays a huge part in that.
I was just going to say that, when America needed to heal in the past, heal itself from itself, essentially, it wasn't combating social media or a 24-hour news cycle. I mean, social media is just in its own bucket at this point as far as things that are happening in the world. I mean, social media is definitely its own animal, but the 24-hour news cycle didn't necessarily exist at that time, and I think that is part of what's happening. I mean, someone can make an off-the-cuff remark in 2020 to another person sitting next to them, and it get tweeted by a third party, misconstrued, and then all of a sudden, somebody's ready to start something that never actually happened or was said in the manner in which it was portrayed. And so then that's why I think so many people in my generation feel like we're not going to get back to a normal. It's always going to be this way. It's so divisive. It's this and it's this. It is, in fact, all of those things you think it is, but it is also possible and honestly downright going to happen that we will get to a better place than we are today, because our history shows that we have 100% as a nation survived everything we have been through. Yes, there have been casualties. It's been awful in some cases. It's happened on American soil in some ways. But you're right. The sun will come up on Thursday, and I bet it happens Friday too, and every day after that. And I just thought it was so interesting here on Veterans Day to kind of have that conversation, because those, to me, were the veterans that were treated absolutely the worst by this country. And it's beautiful to see when, someone comes home, and I use the 9/11 Air Wing in Moon Township in Pennsylvania as an example, because I was there and I saw it once. When men and women come home, it's a beautiful thing to see them reunite with their families. I mean, now a positive for social media. We've seen how many videos of families being surprised at basketball games or on the field, like the dad is dressed as the referee for the coin toss and the kid just starts ball. I mean, it makes me want to cry thinking about it. We've seen the beauty of that, and it's wonderful to see how those people, and especially the people now, are treated when they come back from whatever military service that they have just accomplished and finished up. But I just thought, kind of focusing a little bit and drawing on your experience, thinking about the times that you knew people coming back from Vietnam was poignant today, because I think those are the people that get forgotten the most at this point, and also we're treated the worst. So especially today, and I know we've been harping on it since the show started, but I don't think you can say enough about it. I don't think you can say enough about the job and the calling. Military service, I think, for so many people is a calling. They're born into it with their families and generational things. I think it's a calling, and I just felt like the focus could be and should be rightfully on that today. We're going to take a break, and of course, we want to welcome you, 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. If you have a veteran you want to say hello to or thank today, you're welcome to do that. And again, I want to remind you of just one thing before we take this break. If you want to thank a soldier, be the kind of American worth fighting for. We'll be back with more on The Watchdog.
We've long been known as the region's heart hospital by introducing new cardiac procedures over the years to prolong and save lives. At Wheeling Hospital, we're replacing worn-out aortic valves using a small incision, eliminating the need for open heart surgery. It's called TAVR. There's little discomfort, no stitches, and you're usually home the next day. Recently, our cardiac team performed its 100th TAVR procedure. It's a noteworthy and life-changing milestone. Wheeling Hospital.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together, we will get through this.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time. Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Save big during the Black Friday sales event at Thomas Auto Centers. Choose from over 80 in-stock certified pre-owned Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Get a 2017 Grand Cherokee Limited, 25,000 miles, sunroof, and leather heated seats, just $29,900. Or a 2019 Cherokee Latitude Plus, only 19,000 miles and local trade-in, just $25,228 at Thomas Auto Centers.
Get the best deal. Thomas Auto Centers.
Mall Road, St. Clairsville.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Chris Lawrence. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month has arrived, the moment each year we pause to remember all who have served the country. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, celebrations of Veterans Day are different this year. Charleston holding a virtual service today, honoring vets in a pair of wreath-laying ceremonies this hour, and earlier, a virtual address for veterans from Major General Jason Baum, commander of the Marine Corps Training Command at Quantico.
Whether drafted or a volunteer, enlisted or an officer, each lived by a code and made a commitment to us. And for that, I and our great nation are forever thankful to our veterans.
In Ripley, the ceremony is happening now on the courthouse square following a parade that did include participants and spectators. But organizer Mike Rubin with the Ripley CVB says it's a tradition they thought was important to keep going.
This will be our 13th year for the Veterans Day Parade in Ripley, and we're very proud of the tradition that we're establishing there. We've had the Clydesdale horses were there one year, and we've had Woody Williams there another year, and we have some special guests lined up again for 2020.
This year's Speaker Shirley White, president of the West Virginia Gold Star Mothers. In other news, tech giant Microsoft raising serious concerns about the state's new $8 million contract with Google Cloud. In a 3-page letter to the governor, Microsoft contends the contract with Google calls for them to do a lot of the same work covered in the state's contract with Microsoft. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. The state volleyball tournament will go forward, but it will happen without 3 Putnam County teams who qualified. Players from Hurricane, Winfield, and Buffalo all petitioned a Kanawha County court to stop the tournament that starts tomorrow, challenging the color-coded map that has now precluded them from participating. The litigants claim that volleyball, an all-girls sport, was being denied equal protection since football teams were given an extra week for the map to change and enable their participation in postseason play. Judge Kerry Webster, in an emergency hearing, sided with the SSAC and dismiss the petition. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
Listen to the latest breaking news, traffic, and weather updates, and more with WTRF Live. Weekday mornings beginning at 6 a.m. Only on The Watchdog.
He wakes up in the morning.
242, welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Rick DeRubis, or Big Rick, whatever you want to call me. That's Lola, and we have breaking news to share with you. According to Bruce Feldman on Twitter, he, of course, covers college football for Fox Sports. Maryland versus Ohio State this Saturday is getting canceled per his source. I've been scouring since we went to that break to find more. There are more tweets saying exactly that, but really not more information other than that. It says due to an elevated number of COVID cases within the football program on Maryland's side. So it doesn't sound like it's an Ohio State problem. I mean, it's a problem globally, I guess, but it doesn't sound like this is being canceled on the Ohio State side as much as Maryland. But we'll keep looking and for more information about that. But yeah, big one. Ohio State fans will. What will they do if Ohio State fans can't tweet all game long, only winning 42-9? This is unacceptable. the most egregious fans in college football are Ohio State fans. And I'm sorry if you're an Ohio State fan, I got nothing but love for you, but my goodness.
Oh, I agree with you.
If they don't win by 45 plus, and you know what? They're the best college football team in the land. I don't even think it's arguable. I think Notre Dame at its peak is not as good as Ohio State. I think Clemson, at its peak, with everybody well and playing, maybe a great game. But I still think I lean towards Ohio State. So I'm not disrespecting your team. You're welcome to call and yell if you want, 304-214-1600. But your fan base is ridiculous. I mean, Ohio State gives up a touchdown on Saturday and Twitter explodes. What kind of defense is that? It's the third string defense. That's what kind of defense it is. That you're up 47-3. That's the defense that it is. Unbelievable the way they complain. So Twitter will probably get a much-needed break this Saturday if Ohio State, Maryland does not happen, which it doesn't look like according to several sources. But again, that news only broke about 7 to 9 minutes ago. So we'll get back to that as the day goes on, and we'll see if we come up with any more information. Here is an interesting, I wondered this, so I actually thought, well, Bill's not here, because Bill would be the person I would ask about Ben Roethlisberger and if he's allowed to go into the facility to get treatment for 2 bad knees because he is on the COVID list. Because the NFL, for all the things the NFL does that I don't like, I will say this. I never thought we'd get to week 9 in the NFL. So they must be doing some things right. Because there are games happening on weekends. Not that many games in the grand scheme of things have been canceled, rescheduled. There was a Tuesday night football game, which was really weird that one time. But but other than that, the protocols, knock on wood, must have been pretty decent. Or are continuing to be decent or changing rapidly with the situation to keep up. So there is actually football on. But I wondered, if you're on the COVID list, which Ben is, although he has not tested positive, keep that in mind, and could be in action this Saturday or Sunday. He could be. Can he go get treatment, or do they have to come to his house? I thought, well, I'll ask Bill. And then I realized Bill's not here. So the answer is yes, he can go to the facility. They have him come in at different times when there's a minimum of personnel and other players in the facility to get treatment. Now, if he does eventually test positive, which I think he has to have 5 consecutive days of no contact and all that, it has to, I think, 3 times be negative before he's considered to not have it. But he is being treated, and there is a chance that he could play on Sunday. Obviously, he's missing all the time leading up to it. He can't be out on the field practicing the game plan. But at this point, Ben Roethlisberger only played a quarter at most during any given preseason in the last decade.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody played in preseason this season. And he's already played in 8 games. Almost every snap other than a handful Mason Rudolph picked up on Sunday. I don't care that he's not practicing. I don't care. I think that he's not one to practice anyway. I mean, let's face it. He is a freakishly good athlete, but it's not that he's in freakish condition. He's not Saquon Barkley who can drag a fire truck with his molars. You know what I mean? He's not that guy. He's a guy that can go out there, be in what is considered football shape for him, and go out there and win. So if he, on Saturday or Sunday morning, is cleared to go, play him.
Oh, they'll play him. Are you kidding?
Play him. Yeah, I don't think that is that big of a deal. Of course, Vince Williams is also on there. There's a couple other players too, but Vince Williams, the other one of note. There's really no advancement in the Will Roethlisberger play or not as far as information that is out there. But
he'll play.
I think if he gets cleared, I think he plays. And I say, why not? Why not? They're 8-0. They're going against a Cincinnati Bengals team that, I mean, it's so hard to tell. Are the Bengals showing signs of life? I mean, certainly Joe Burrow is fantastic. He is fantastic. If Joe Burrow could have ended up on a team that had any sort of defense, because he's got guys to throw to. Pittsburgh's own Tyler Boyd, pride of Clareton High School, the Bears, also where I grew up in Clareton High School. It's great to see Tyler Boyd doing so well in the NFL. I wish it wasn't for the Bengals, but it's great to see him doing so well. He has guys to throw. He's got A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd to throw to. He doesn't have much of a tight end there, but Joe Burrow can put up points. I don't necessarily think the Bengals defense can stop points from being put up. And that's where you get into the interesting factor. If Roethlisberger doesn't play, Mason Rudolph can't score points. And he's proven that. He's proven that he's not a guy that puts up a lot of points. Even though his college receiver, they set records at Oklahoma State and James Washington, he couldn't seem to find him on an NFL field for nothing. And now you have all these weapons. Do I believe Mason Rudolph can lead them to beat the Bengals? I don't. I think Burrows is going to make enough throws. And I'm saying strictly if Roethlisberger doesn't play. If Roethlisberger plays, even despite that terrible outing against the Cowboys, for all of them. I mean, there was even a bad, questionable coaching decision in that game, and they still won. Good teams win bad games. I mean, they always say that. But at no point do I think that this 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers team at 8-0, this sounds ridiculous to say this out loud. But I don't think this is the best Steelers team I've ever seen. I don't.
No, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think it's the best Steelers team I've ever seen. I think it's the most fortunate Steelers team I've ever seen. But would I sit here and say, yeah, this is the best one? No, I absolutely wouldn't. I think the team that the team they had that won the 6th seed, the Super Bowl out of the 6th seed, I think that might have been a better team. Maybe not as talented, because these receivers that they have are very talented. This defense is very stout in many ways. But overall, I don't think it's the best one. So I know that sounds crazy at 8-0. Until I see them beat a team like the Cowboys that they should beat by 30, until I see them do that from start to finish, like the Browns game was pretty good. Like the Steelers play the Browns. Of course, we're your home of the Browns, and we'll have some Browns talk here in a minute. But you can say that they played a pretty complete game in that one. Titans game 51-49 in favor percent in favor of the Steelers. It was that close. Baltimore probably 51-49 in favor of Baltimore. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And the Steelers won the game somehow. The Cowboys inspired and playing out of their minds. They still didn't win, and they don't have nearly the personnel that the Steelers have, but they gave them hell. The Steelers are due. They're due to get woken up. And if Roethlisberger doesn't play, and they think they're going to put Mason Rudolph in there and be competitive, I just don't see it. And I don't honestly know. And I guess it's my job to sit back here and question things and then let them prove me wrong, and then I'll retract the next time I come to work. But for all the things you did right in the offseason, and of course just making the trade for Williamson and getting him in there, his backup for Spillane or split time with Spillane, however you want to look at it. The one thing you didn't address was the one thing that showed itself the most last season, is if Ben doesn't throw the ball, you have nobody. And they went out and got Josh Dobbs back. And I think, okay, getting Josh Dobbs back, great. The guy, Roethlisberger and Dobbs have a great relationship. Roethlisberger seems to listen to Dobbs. They show him on the sideline. Dobbs is always in his ear. Roethlisberger seems very receptive to what Dobbs is seeing. He's not the athlete that Ben Roethlisberger is. I don't know that you don't start Dobbs. I really don't. And I get that you invested more in Mason Rudolph. But at the end of the game, the idea is to be 9-0. I don't think Mason Rudolph gets you there. You know, and I guess devil's advocate. You know, people in Pittsburgh or Pittsburgh fans, and regardless of where they are, they all dog the idea of going out and getting Andy Dalton. which of course the Cowboys did. And he's not playing either. Unfortunate what happened to Dalton. He got hit, nasty hit to the head. But if you thought that your window was closing on Roethlisberger,
Yes.
but you were so excited about the core of receivers and offensive weapons that you have, to me, that's like buying the gun and not getting any ammo. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, look, I got 50 receivers on this team that can make a play, but only one guy that can throw it to him.
I know it.
It just made no sense whatsoever to me that that's what they chose to do. And I don't know. If Roethlisberger plays, I don't think it's a huge deal. I think they go on and they win, and I think it's probably closer than it should be. But I think the Steelers continue to not know. Roethlisberger doesn't play, and you start Mason Rudolph, I'm probably grilling by halftime because I'm not that into it. I mean, seriously, I'm just not. Let's talk Cleveland Browns. Of course, we are your home for the Cleveland Browns, and it's been interesting. Mayfield, he has been activated from the COVID-19 list, so he's going to play. There's no doubt about that. And I think this is such a big opportunity, and I mean, almost a must-have for Cleveland this week against the Texans. And the Texans stink. And they shouldn't. Honestly, they shouldn't. But they're not very good. And you have to, if you want to be considered what the Browns thought they were going to be considered going into the season, and rightfully were so in the first few weeks, as one of the elite teams in the AFC, this is a game that you can't even attempt to lose. A lot of interesting sidebars in this. Not that it'll happen now. We're past the trade deadline. But the consensus in the media is that this is going to be J.J. Watt's last season with the Texans. I mean, a lot of the chatter is, and rightfully, naturally so, well, maybe he'll come to Pittsburgh. The Steelers should pick him up. No, they shouldn't. And it's not because he's the most likable person in the NFL.
I know it.
What he did for the city of Houston when it flooded, he could just stay in Houston, retire from football tomorrow, and be the mayor in the next election. He could.
I know.
And you know what? If I lived in Houston, I'd vote for him. I don't even know what side of the political fence he's on. He seems like that guy. And so I hear Steeler fans chatter, oh man, that would be great. We'd have all three Watt brothers. For what?
Yeah.
Derek Watt has only played in 5 games, maybe 4. Not against the guy being on the team. If we need a fullback, he is a pretty good one. But you got to be on the field to be a good fullback, and he's only been there 4 or 5 games. Nobody's going to argue with the fact that TJ Watt is an absolute animal and could be the defensive player of the year in all of the NFL, certainly for the Steelers. J.J. Watt doesn't play consistently through the season. He gets hurt a lot. Great guy. If you needed a coach, he's definitely that. If you need a PR guy, bring him in. But to trade anything for him just so you can say you have Wattsburg, ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. But that's who the Browns are taking on this weekend. The Texans, who have that big albatross hanging around their neck, all the Watt trade talk. They're a team in crisis. And I tell you what, if Cleveland doesn't win, that is going to be just an absolute disaster.
It's just a repeat of history. I mean...
You're right. I mean, Mike Holmgren couldn't fix that team. So many people have come in and tried. And Jimmy Haslam, of course, was a partial owner of the Steelers. So I have a little bit of working knowledge about him. I don't know him. But he understands the formula. He's been a part of the winning formula for the Pittsburgh Steelers as an owner. And I think he's closer than anybody has been in the last 15 years. I think he's the best team they've had in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But I still don't think they're there. And yeah, I know they lost OBJ. And that's difficult. That's a difficult loss. OBJ is a good player. But you still have an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side of the ball. Kareem Hunt can still run. Landry can still catch the ball if you get it to him. They have plenty of things to go. You just got to get there. You just got to get there if you're the Cleveland Browns this week. You cannot afford to lose to the Texans. Of course, we will have the Browns action here on the Watchdog. Coming up after we get through the break, we're going to have Stephen Allen Adams join us. We're going to talk about COVID in West Virginia, the map, football, as far as will the high school teams play and all those types of things coming up next here on the Watchdog.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville.
Consider one
Get the
that
best
has
deal at
these
Thomas
three
Auto
essential
Centers.
elements: radiation.
The U.S. breaking daily records for new coronavirus cases. Even states with low-density populations are seeing a surge, not just in infections, but in ICU patients overwhelming the health system.
In North Dakota, hospitals are at 100% capacity. Healthcare staffing is at critical levels, and now the governor is allowing healthcare workers who have COVID-19 but are asymptomatic to stay on the job caring for COVID patients. Today, the COVID Tracking Project reporting cases are rising in every state. Positivity rates are up in 36 states, and deaths are increasing in 27 states. Alex Stone, ABC News.
At the White House, a second wave within the Trump administration. ABC News has learned White House political director Brian Jack and at least 2 other aides have tested positive. At least a dozen, including Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, have tested positive this past week. ABC News projects Republican Dan Sullivan will win Alaska's Senate election. That gives the GOP 50 seats. Democrats now would have to win both Georgia runoff elections to tie the Senate with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris casting the deciding vote. ABC's Faith Abube has more.
Joe Biden is going to go into the White House and work with Republicans who, up until now, days after this election has been called, they still haven't recognized him as the legitimate president-elect. So that's going to be a difficult position he'll be in. When he was asked about that yesterday, he sort of pivoted, talked about the urgency and coming together to produce a coronavirus relief package for Americans who are struggling during this pandemic right now. He also said he looks forward to negotiating with the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, on installing his cabinet members. So he clearly understands he has a hard road ahead.
In Florida, residents dealing with flooding from Tropical Storm Eta. It weakened, but it's getting ready to hit Florida for a second time. Tomorrow, north of the Tampa Bay region, heavy rain, surge, and power outages expected. You're listening to ABC News.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save for driving safely. Save for driving less with pay-per-mile insurance. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. Savings based on early signing, discount drive-bys, and mile-wise. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Smoothbrook, Illinois.
Modern modernization today has the products you need to modernize your workplace, like the Neuro Tiara. Upgrade your brain to the ultimate data management tool by simply deleting less critical information.
Childhood erased.
At CDW, we get a Neuro Tiara won't modernize your data. You need hybrid cloud data services from NetApp that simplify management and accelerate digital transformation to help unleash the full potential of your data. NetApp and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/NetApp.
Despite recent vaccine developments, World Health Organization warning this winter will be tough when it comes to coronavirus. ABC's Tom Rivers has more.
Here, there's excitement that the Pfizer vaccine may be rolled out soon. But as WHO Special Envoy Dr. David Nabarro says,
whatever happens with the vaccine, we've really got to go on treating this virus with respect. We did see that there was quite a big increase in cases in Europe in October and November.
As it stands, the UK should get 10 million Pfizer doses by the end of 2020, with a further 30 million doses already ordered. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
New problems for the country's largest plane maker.
Boeing could be looking at new problems. The Wall Street Journal says federal regulators are considering new penalties over allegations of quality control lapses and management pressure on safety engineers at the plane maker.
ABC's Jim Ryan. Confederate Avenue in Richmond, Virginia now has a new name. The City Council, they are renaming the stretch of 4 residential blocks to Laburnum Park Boulevard. The majority of residents supporting that change of name, and it's all part of the ongoing reckoning over the city's historical ties to slavery and racial discrimination. Richmond took down nearly all of its Confederate monuments this past summer in the wake of protests against racial injustice. This is ABC News.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Amazing things with cardiac care. We're implanting the world's smallest heart pump to help keep it beating as we open clogged arteries, and replacing aortic valves without open heart surgery. We're also greatly reducing the chance of stroke by implanting a small device in the heart for certain patients with atrial fib, again without open heart surgery. Amazing cardiac care. Amazing cardiac specialists. Only at Wheeling Hospital.
Hello, I'm Wheeling Fire Chief Larry Helms. As our city and region get back to business, it's extremely important to continue the following specific health guidelines to stop the spread of COVID-19. This virus is highly contagious and is more deadly than the flu. Please wear a mask or face covering in public, wash your hands more often, socially distance yourself as much as possible, and by following these guidelines, it potentially could save you.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchant.
The Original Undo's in Benwood is the perfect place to enjoy the big game, great food, and the company around you. The outdoor patio is the best kept secret in Marshall County, featuring plenty of big screen HD TVs, an outdoor beer garden, and NFL and MLB packages so you don't miss a second of the action. With the holiday season fast approaching, don't forget about Undo's Catering. Perfect for holiday parties, family gatherings, conferences, weddings, or any event large or small. Check out undos.com for menus, specials, entertainment, and more. Undo's Family Restaurants. Family owned since 1953.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Mostly cloudy with rain showers on and off through the day. Daytime high near 67. Your overnight low of 42 degrees under partly cloudy skies. You'll see clouds breaking for some sunshine as we head through your Thursday, with highs in the lower 60s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. The afternoon drive continues with more news, sports, and talk on the Watchdog.
Welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick DeRubis, alongside Lola, and she is going to have Steve Adams on the phone for us. Steve, of course, works for the Ogden newspapers around the state of West Virginia. He is also someone that you can read in the Intelligencer. Steve has covered all of the politics in West Virginia for quite a while. So hopefully when we get Steve on the line, he's going to fill us in on a few things. Of course, the big hot topic right now is of course, COVID and the COVID map. So many things revolve around this COVID map. And Lola, we have Steve on the line. Steve.
Yes, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm good. I'm still kind of recovering from elections, but things are excellent.
You have, of course, covered elections for a long time, and in West Virginia, there's not much to contest. And I'm honestly doing everything I can today to swerve around the obvious things that are happening that are oversaturated everywhere with, the president not conceding and is Biden the president, things like that. But let's jump into this first. I saw right before I went on the air at 2 o'clock, so probably around 1:30, that Governor Jim Justice did not actually acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president-elect in some comments that he made this afternoon.
He has tried to take somewhat of, I would call it the McConnell approach. I saw some headlines recently that over the last couple of days that had basically accused Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican Majority Leader of the Senate, of basically backing up Trump's claims. And that's not exactly what he said. And certainly if you run for president and you feel there are issues, whether you feel that there needs to be a recount in a place that had really, really kind of tight margins, which is what's happening in Georgia. Actually, I believe that's an automatic recount, but they're doing a hand recount down there. Or if you do legitimately think you have some issues in regards to voter fraud, though they have yet to substantiate any of the claims that they've said, and most of the anecdotal stuff that they have pushed in the media over the last week have really been debunked. There's no substantial evidence that voter fraud played a role in flipping any of these numbers around. But you do have certain Republicans, and in West Virginia, it doesn't hurt them to make these claims, because if you saw the margins for how well Trump did in the state, obviously this state turned out real hard and heavy for Trump to try to give him a second term. So when he says things like, he needs to check all this stuff out, there are issues, there's irregularities, which is one of the kind of the buzzwords that's used a lot. It makes you and I raise our eyebrows, but the public in general, I think the last poll I saw, which of course polling these days is a little bit suspect as we've seen, but I thought the number I saw from a YouGov poll here recently put it at around 70% of Republicans that don't believe that Biden won the election. There's just so much misinformation and disinformation out there. It's hard to keep track of.
It really is. I don't think in our lifetimes, in any of our lifetimes, we've seen anything like this. Even in 2000, obviously it's the one thing we can all point to and go, well, in 2000, this thing happened in Florida. And this is to me different in a lot of ways to that, because we were talking about it narrowed down to one state, and you had the brother of the potential and and long-term winner of that involved. If you could point to anything, you point to nepetism.
There's a lot of differences, I would argue.
I think there's a ton.
The one thing that's remained consistent, and unfortunately it's become more and more part of our politics, particularly from 2000 on, has been the other side, basically saying, well, this is illegitimate, this president's illegitimate. It's happened to Bush back in 2000. And like you said, there's some real issues there, but ultimately when they did finally count all the votes after the fact, I think the Wall Street Journal did a big story on this. Bush had the votes, but
sure.
You had networks calling the election way too soon before the Panhandle had closed voting. So you had situations where there were a lot of close votes when it came down to Florida. vastly different from now. But look at 2004. You saw the Kerry campaign claimed some discrepancies in Ohio. That became a big part of that campaign. Now, Bush won that a lot more handily than he did in 2000, so those claims mostly went away, and I think most people wrote them off. Then if you go into even 2016, you had one side saying that, but Trump didn't win the election. He was an agent of Russians, and he was illegitimate. I mean, Hillary Clinton had called him that several times. And now going into this. So now it seems just whoever wins, the other side automatically goes to, well, it was rigged, or there was voter fraud, or they're illegitimate, and things of that nature. And I even forgot to bring up 2008 Barack Obama. That was the start of the birther movement, where they tried to say he was not a naturalized U.S. citizen, which he, of course, was. And of all people, one of the big people to push that line was President Donald Trump, and made that a real big thing there for a while this decade. So you're seeing that now on both sides, unfortunately, and it really just kind of muddies the water, and I don't think it's very healthy for democracy.
No, not healthy for democracy at all. And, if I had a political question, certainly about the state of West Virginia, but just political in general, I would call you, because I think you have a really good grasp on so much of this. But in your, I guess, brief compared to some of our times, not only on the planet, but as a working member of the press, you've not lived through an election without contention.
That's true.
And I can tell you that it wasn't always this way. I mean, if you didn't like who won, especially, in maybe pre-2000, and maybe it started to become just, again, and I feel like we harp on this 24-hour news cycle, social media type thing, but before, you complained around your dinner table to your family, and that's where it ended. To see this happen pretty much in every election, every presidential election year that you've covered, I can tell you that at one point it wasn't like this, Steve. So hopefully someday, as you continue your career into covering politics, you'll actually get just a clean win.
Well, not only that, but like you're talking about social media, everybody is forced to be political. And you're talking about people that probably didn't have to think that much about it until maybe close to election time. But you now see it everywhere with the things that are pushed in front of you by the algorithms on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube videos or things of that nature. And it's made people, I can tell you, there are more members of my family that were interested in this election. I've been involved in journalism and my family, and politics for that matter, for 20 years, and my family never paid attention until this year. And I've got cousins and aunts and uncles that talk about politics now that never expressed an interest in it at all. And what makes it worse is, no offense to them if they're listening, but many of them are uneducated about the issues. And oddly enough, don't read my stuff, but will read, the first random link that pops up on, that gets shared by another person on Facebook, and I have to, where'd you hear that? And I get, I hear the name of the URL and the website, and I don't think that's a real thing. Here's the actual information, and they don't want to hear the actual information. So I'm hoping that goes away at some point too. But.
We do. We see that a lot. We're talking to Stephen Allen Adams. He writes for the Ogden newspapers around the state of West Virginia. Of course, you can read him here in Wheeling in the Intelligencer. Steve, we've got, I don't even know how to describe this map that we have for the state of West Virginia as far as the hot spots for COVID. And then, of course, and I know this again, and you and I talked about this before, one of the things that COVID affects so many people in West Virginia, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent, everyone's entitled to their opinion. We've got a lot of football that may not get played. And I got to tell you, I have seen so many people. Now, a lot of my friends are either from North End or South Side in Wood County, Parkersburg mainly. But I have seen probably 50, and I'm not just throwing that number, it's not just arbitrary, it's at least 50 posts from people that I have either encountered or actual friends with, have followed me because of my media career or whatever on social media that are, I mean, some of them are begging people that know that they don't have coronavirus to go get tested to enhance the number to be lower, to move them into a different color so they can participate in football. To me, that is just madness. What say the governor and the political end of this?
Well, I feel like the governor has sent two different messages on this. Now, he actually addressed this to some extent today in his remarks on his Wednesday coronavirus briefing, and specifically talked about, he understands what parents and what these student athletes and what these coaches are going through. He's repeatedly used the example that he canceled the girls' basketball tournament when his team, Greenbrier East, had a game scheduled that night for the tournament, and how that was heartbreaking for him, but he did it because, at that point we didn't know that much about the virus, so we canceled it. At that point, the NBA was canceling games and things of that
games
nature.
that were in progress. Those NBA games were in progress, and they're like, just everybody get out off the floor, just go home.
So he said today he understands that pain, but if you have a choice between opening schools and having sports, if you can't open the schools because they're, say, in a orange or red color, then in good conscience, he doesn't feel like the priority should be allowing those teams to play. And he has a point on that, but here's the other flip side of that. If you paid any attention, Saturday night, the map for schools is supposed to come out and it's posted on the Department of Education website at 5 p.m. That map got delayed until after 11:30 Saturday night. Now, why was that?
I don't understand.
Nobody's saying, and to be clear, I don't think this is nefarious, but I told somebody, it reminded me of a high school, particularly a college student going through their couch cushions to look for enough change to go get a 99-cent cheeseburger. They were combing all the data and looking for anything, any duplicates, let's say someone that was listed in one county, but he's really from another county, going through all that data. They were going through and combing through that data till 11:30. That way they hopefully didn't have to put a county in the orange that wasn't really supposed to be in the orange. Didn't keep in mind the high school playoff brackets for football for double, single, and triple A came out Saturday night too, which is just a fun coincidence. In their defense, they were trying to go through all the data to make sure that any county that wasn't supposed to be orange wasn't made orange. So you got the governor saying one thing, well, if you can't have schools, then we certainly can't have sports. But they do seem to be trying to do everything they can short of cooking the books. And again, I don't think they've done that to try to make sure any team that can be in a color that could play in these games, whether you're talking about football or volleyball. Apparently there's big gaps in the volleyball schedule because of some counties being in the orange and red. So it's two conflicting messages, and to quickly kind of go to your point about people going in and getting tested, I don't necessarily have a problem with that per se, because we'll be going to that at some point. Rapid testing's on its way, and before long you might have to take a test in the morning, in between shaving and brushing your teeth, to see if you're positive before you can go in for work that day. That could be a real thing, if we're still kind of waiting on a vaccine. But, the problem is we're identifying a whole bunch of new positive cases.
Yeah, I thought this, look, I'll just say this about the football and waiting for Saturday night to come and whatever. It's a very difficult, as a former high school and college athlete, it's very difficult to be disappointed in not playing. As we mentioned last hour too, by the way, worth mentioning again, Ohio State, Maryland looks like it's going to be canceled because of a lot of positive tests within the Maryland football program. And when it comes to Ohio State and Maryland, some of these guys are hoping to raise their draft stock and essentially auditioning for the next part of their life and their career. I get that it's absolutely devastating, and I hope that everything is done that can be done within reason to allow kids to play. But at the end of the day, that's not the most important thing here. And we're talking in this region that is within the Watchdog listening area. Weirton Madonna, Wheeling Central, Oak Glen, John Marshall, Wheeling Park, and even Fort Fry over in Ohio are in our listening area. Of course, Wheeling Central and John Marshall, if the games happen, we'll have them. But this upsets a lot of different things, but the way it's being gone about by parents of these players, I get it. A lot of people, and I'll just say it because it happens, and if you happen to be one of these people, you're going to just turn your radio off. But you're living vicariously through your children and not putting the idea of safety first. And I want you to play football. I do. I want these kids to play if they can safely play. But combing through data just to see if we can get this number a little lower, or encouraging so many more tests to go, oh, look how many, yeah, it looks like a high number, but not compared to the number of negative tests. To me, that's just absurd. At what point will the governor have to address that particular issue? Because I honestly think people are going to do it. I mean, it's only Wednesday. If people can go get tested and lower those numbers as quickly as possible, they're going to. They're going to.
Yeah, I think you're right to some extent, but I mean, I think what we're seeing here, especially based on the numbers that just came out today, in the last 24 hours, the state has identified 885 new coronavirus cases. That's a 24-hour record. Just yesterday alone, they identified 642 cases of COVID-19. I mean, the beauty of the whole thing is, while these people are pushing people to go get tested, what we are discovering is there actually is a lot more of this virus in our communities than what people really realize. And so it's having sort of the reverse effect. And I'm not saying don't get tested.
No.
We need to get tested to identify people, especially if they're asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, because they could be spreading it, not even realize it, and never realize they even had it to begin with.
Yeah.
We got to identify these people. But like Dr. Clay Marsh, the coronavirus star, just said today, I mean, yes, our testing numbers are up, but that does not explain the amount of the virus that we're seeing, case numbers we're seeing. We are seeing these numbers because there is greater community spread. There are people that are not wearing masks. There are people that are getting together in small groups. There are people that are not staying 6 feet apart. There are people that probably aren't washing their hands like they should. As you and I have talked about, people are getting a little fatigued on this thing, and I get it. But, we're really close to a vaccine that could probably start being available by March all around, and at least it will probably be available for healthcare workers and at-risk populations such as nursing home patients, I would imagine, by the beginning of the year. So we just need to keep staying the course. And I know we all get tired of hearing that, but it is what it is. We got to keep doing this stuff just a little while longer.
It is. One more thing on the COVID topic, Steve, and I want to switch gears a little bit. Is there any feeling that the governor would issue a mask mandate?
Well, we technically have a mask mandate. Technically, it's not enforceable by any stretch of the imagination.
That's what I mean.
There
it's
is
just kind of like, I mean, technically, the entire country has a mask. Wear a mask, but it's not enforceable by anyone.
It is required if you're going to be indoors in a situation of a certain age, I believe 9 and up, and in a situations where you are not able to social distance. Say if you have your own office, in your office building, you can take your mask off when you're sitting at your desk, but if you're moving about, you need to put it back on. That is required, but there is no enforcement mechanism to it. And Justice talking today, it does not sound like he is very keen. He says all options are on the table, but he doesn't sound like he's very keen on doing a similar style of lockdown to what happened in the spring. He basically said today, look, I mean, he doesn't even feel he has the legal authority to do it. He can put it in an executive order, but he doesn't feel that he's got the authority to give law enforcement to go out there and enforce it or issue fines or anything else of that matter. So he doesn't sound like he's going to do it. And I'll tell you what will be interesting, too. It'll be interesting to see what the Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says this afternoon, because he's supposed to be doing a statewide address. And I think a lot of people suspect he's going to issue some stricter lockdown stuff, maybe shut down restaurants after a certain time or things of that nature. We don't know what he's going to do per se, but the speculation is he's going to be issuing some tighter restrictions in order to slow the spread of the virus. But the governor, as of this point, does not seem like he is inclined to do anything similar along those lines.
I saw that New York is closing bars and restaurants at 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking, does the virus come alive at 10? I don't understand. I mean, I don't think it has a Timex. The virus does not move within the limits of different hours. So I kind of thought the whole, I get that if you close it down, you got more time to clean it. I mean, it's the same reason that every retailer has limited hours and things like that. But at that part, I don't get. We're talking to Stephen Allen Adams. You can read him in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers all over West Virginia. Steve, I know we got a couple minutes left. I wanted to talk to you about the Affordable Health Care Act. I know that Patrick Morrissey kind of addressed that, did he not?
Well, yeah. He's actually one of 20, West Virginia, I should say, is one of 20 states that was taking the Affordable Care Act, ACA, also called Obamacare, to task specifically over the individual mandate. The requirement within the law that says you have to have health insurance. Now, once upon a time, there was a penalty that was involved with that, a tax penalty that could be assessed to anyone that was not getting themselves insured. And what Congress did in 2017 was zero that out. They basically took that penalty, which was a monetary penalty, and took it to zero. And that was after a previous Supreme Court ruling that said that the law wasn't unconstitutional because you could consider that penalty a tax. So Congress got rid of the tax in essence, and then several states tried to get together and say, well, if that tax is gone, then that individual mandate requirement makes the law unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court heard it again just yesterday, and it sounds like, hearing from a couple of the more conservative justices on the court, Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, based on their questioning, it sounds like they are inclined to leave the law alone, but probably recommend that the individual mandate itself be taken out of the law. That has been what some people have said has been the real likely scenario all along, that they would not rule the entire ACA unconstitutional. If they did, that would mean possibility of a bunch of people, and I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but the people on Medicaid that were part of Medicaid expansion in West Virginia, for example, could lose that health care coverage, or the state would be required to basically pony up $1 billion to keep covering those people on Medicaid. And you're talking about 800,000 people in West Virginia that have pre-existing medical conditions that could lose coverage, that could see their premiums increase, things of that nature. It sounds like this court is going to be leaning towards just getting rid of the individual mandate and leaving the entire law alone. But Morrissey was one of several states that were arguing for a complete saying the entire law is unconstitutional, even though he's tried to back away from that over the last year and a half. That was an issue in his 2018 campaign when he challenged U.S. Senator Joe Manchin for that seat and lost. And, of course, it became a big part of the campaign with Sam Brown-Petzoff, the Democrat that was challenging Morrissey in this election for Morrissey's third term for Attorney General. And Morrissey won that race. So we'll have to wait and see what the Supreme Court says, but it doesn't look like they're going to rule against the law in its entirety.
You telling me 800,000 people in the state of West Virginia have a pre-existing condition, and the total population is what again?
1.8 million by the last census count.
Okay, so 40%.
Mm-hmm.
That's not. It's not a shocking number. Like, I'm shocked by the fact that the percentage is that high. Lola, you want to add something?
Well, I just want everybody to remember that doing away with pre-existing condition coverage, anyone that has gone through COVID will then have a pre-existing condition, which opens up the door to insurance companies, if you have private insurance, and that is done away with, raising your rates or saying we're not going to cover you, or we won't cover anything that has to do with your fighting the virus at some point in your life. So, there's more implications than, just one thing.
Sure,
So
absolutely. And I think a lot of people, and this is a good point by Lola, we don't know the long-term situation for people that recover from COVID because it's so new.
Not only that, but I mean, it's different for everybody. Some
Sure.
people fly through this just fine. Some people have all sorts of reoccurring issues with this in regards to their heart, regards to circulation, nervous systems. I mean, there's a whole slew of stuff that they're still trying to figure out. So it's almost like a grab bag of issues that could exist.
Yeah, no, it's a very strange thing, and I definitely don't think that the opportunity for that to be taken away is a good thing, especially with 40% of the state having a pre-existing condition, on top of who knows how high the COVID numbers will rise here. I mean, we're not doing a good job, West Virginia, of slowing this down. That's obvious. It's obvious. There's a map. It's colored. We're not doing the right things to slow the virus down.
The only thing that gives me a little bit of optimism is just the mere fact that if you compare West Virginia's numbers to surrounding states and other states, we're still doing better than our other states. But that's the only good news I have to really report about it. I mean, you're talking about case numbers going up. The last I reported about it, 42 out of 55 counties. I mean, you got counties that were doing better, starting to turn back around. I mean, it's certainly concerning, and it's following the trend of really a lot of the other states that are starting to see this, particularly Midwest and Upper Plains, are really, really exploding with cases right now.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing that's happening with it, and we hope that it gets under control. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. That's Stephen Allen Adams. Read him in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers around the state of West Virginia. We'll talk to you next week, pal.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
All right, take care, Steve, and we'll be back with more on the Watchdog.
From Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together we will get through this.
The original Undo's in Benwood is the perfect place to enjoy the big game, great food, and the company around you. The outdoor patio is the best kept secret in Marshall County, featuring plenty of big screen HD TVs, an outdoor beer garden, and NFL and MLB packages so you don't miss a second of the action. With the holiday season fast approaching, don't forget about Undo's Catering. Perfect for holiday parties, family gatherings, conferences, weddings, or any event large or small. Check out undos.com for menus, specials, entertainment, and more. Undo's Family Restaurants, family owned since 1953.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help. Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone.
I'm Chuck Reddick, Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. We're working hard to get ready for tax filing season. You know who else is working hard? Identity thieves. Keep your computers and your mobile phones secure. Use antivirus software and strong passwords. Look out for email scams. Secure your home Wi-Fi with a password. Stay safe when you shop online. Look for HTTPS in the web address. See irs.gov for details.
Island Pawnbrokers is now your local firearm dealer. In a pinch? Need cash quick? See us before going to the big box stores. Paying top dollar for firearms, gold, silver, tools, coins, and electronics. Don't lose your good credit. Let us give you instant cash. Stop by 2 North Broadway Street on Wheeling Island, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Island Pawnbrokers. Stop in for instant cash.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
What to expect from TCU's offense. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone. And we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales, plus rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Mountaineer football coach Neil Brown says there's a lot to like about the TCU football team that will come to Morgantown this weekend. The Frogs are 3-3 overall. That's .500 ball. However, they have won their last 2 in a row, defeating Baylor 33-23, and then last week rolling over Texas Tech 34-18. Brown says he's impressed by TCU's offensive attack.
Offensively, they're a spread attack, ability to mix tempos. They go fast when they want to. They've been a very, very effective running the football. I mean, if you look at the stats over the last 2 games, they've really ran the ball well. And I think that's kind of, as they've gone through this winning streak here, that's been the key. Their quarterback, in my mind, is very similar to Ellinger. You know, he's a tough runner, had 180 yards last week, has ability to go the dead win. Had an 81-yard run, so he's fast. He's improved his accuracy. Tough kid, playing well for them right now. Improved his accuracy as a passer. They've got a running back by committee, some heavily recruited kids in that room. They get a bunch of guys carries. And then receiver, they've got good speed. They've got the Barber kid that they get the ball to a lot of different ways, and he can make people miss. And he played well at the end of last year, and he's continued to be their leading receiver. And they've got a couple other guys that can really go.
Brown mentioned TCU's quarterback, Max Duggan. This is interesting. It's the second week in a row that West Virginia will face a team whose leading rusher just happens to be their quarterback. A week ago, it was Sam Ellinger from Texas, and this weekend it will be Max Duggan. He leads the team with 329 run yards. He's averaging 4 yards a carry, and he has scored 6 touchdowns on the season. Don't forget tomorrow night, your chance to talk with Neil Brown, the Neil Brown Show, here on the Mountaineer Sports Network from 6 until 8 o'clock. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
.344 back on the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick DeRubis. That's Lola, and we do have news. We broke it a little bit ago, but more information. Ohio State versus Maryland has, in fact, been canceled. That's according to pretty much every reputable source out there. This, according to SI.com. Maryland Director of Athletics Damon Evans and University of Maryland President Daryl Pines announced plans to pause its football program's activities and cancel Saturday night's game against number 3 Ohio State. Elevated COVID cases in the Maryland program is the reason the game will not be rescheduled, according to the university. It sounds like, from the way that headline reads, is Maryland football might be done for the year, as they have paused all the program's activities. You know, at this point, if you miss 2 games at this point in the season, today is November 11th. If you don't play again for 14 days after this Saturday, what could possibly be left? You know, I guess, and I think we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see the complete cancellation of college football by any stretch. I don't think we're going to see that. But I do think in the Pac-10 got rolled back in, or Pac-12 got rolled back into this past weekend. There's more teams playing than have been all season now. I think there's a good chance some of those teams that have been playing since the beginning of the season maybe going to see a few of them drop out.
I want to know how they're even going to work a national championship when you've got every single conference is playing a different amount of games against basically their own conference. And then you've got the Big Ten coming in real late, the Pac-10, I still call it Pac-10.
Yeah.
Coming in even later.
Yeah,
and now you've got ones dropping out.
I think it's going to look, honestly, I know this sounds too simplistic of an answer. I think it's going to look a lot like West Virginia high school state football playoffs. Some teams have played 7, some teams have played 5, some teams have played 4. I don't think anybody's played 4, but some teams have played 5. I think it was Sissonville is like high. I think they're number 2 in the rankings, which obviously they're a good football team. But, you know, I think they've played 5 games. So, you know, I think that's what we're going to see, and I think it's going to mirror. It's going to mirror just that. That's what we're going to get, and whatever, you know. I mean, again, if people can play safely, play. If you can't play safely, don't play. And I think that's kind of where we're at. But again, Ohio State, Maryland canceled. Maryland pausing its football program for the rest of the season. And yeah, as I mentioned before, the West Virginia high school state football tournament. We talked to Stephen Allen Adams about that. Still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with those teams. And we're talking in our area: Madonna, Wheeling Central, Oak Glen, John Marshall, Wheeling Park, and in Ohio, Fort Fry. So, you know, we'll let you know. And of course, if we do have games, Wheeling Central and John Marshall here on the Watchdog. Did want to relay that about Ohio State, but that wasn't what I wanted to get into right now. And I'll be honest with you, I had to look it up. And I looked it up a few days ago because I started to see a lot of this pop up on my Facebook feed and in my social feeds. You know what Parler is, Lola?
I have seen it in the news. I should know what it is, but I don't.
Don't feel embarrassed by that, because honestly, until 2 days ago, I didn't know either.
Okay.
And the only reason I looked it up is because a very good friend of mine posted, "Follow me on Parler," at whatever his online Parler name is. I'm like, I can't keep up as it is. Trying to maintain a Facebook page, an Instagram, and a Twitter, honestly, was too much for me.
I know.
And we have it all. We'd like you to join us, whatever your preferred method is, or all of them. Twitter at The Watchdog WV, Facebook, The Watchdog. And if you just prefer the old-fashioned internet way, we are available to you at watchdognetwork.com or on the TuneIn Radio app. But with all of these things, I'm like, I'm not joining another one of these. I don't know what it is. I'm not doing it. And then I started to see 3 or 4 friends a day posting, follow me at Parler. And I'm like, I'm not following you anywhere, but I do want to know what it is. The curiosity finally killed the cat. So I looked it up. Parler, if you're hearing about it and you're not sure what it is the right-wing social media app. Now, apparently, Parler was created because a lot of people to the right thought that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram suppressed information during the election, whether it be a fact check type thing, where, of course, there was a fact checker on Facebook, most notably, that if you posted something that was false, underneath it, there would be, is this article fact? Right. Yes, no, it would come up in green or red and then give you a link to read why it was or wasn't. So this started itself not that long ago. Parler is the name of it. It is the #1 most downloaded app in America. Now, when you have a race as close as the presidential race was, I mean, we're looking at the difference of 5 million votes, which sounds like a lot. 5 million anything sounds like a lot to me. But
not really.
It's pretty close. When you're talking about presidential election votes, that is pretty darn close. So we're talking, 49 or so percent to 51%. So this is the most downloaded app right now. And basically, it is the social media network for right-wingers that just want to associate with other right-wingers. And
well, I can cancel this.
you might not, Lola, you may not want to go down the Parler path.
Okay, it's done.
Okay, I want, but I found it so fascinating on a lot of levels. The fact that it has gained as much popularity as it has so quickly is not necessarily shocking. If you lean to the right and you are a fan of Donald Trump, you are still maybe contesting the idea that he did not win, or you're still burnt about the fact that he didn't, whether you've accepted it or not. And truth be told, it's not my place to tell you anything other than what I can read from reputable sources. Yeah. I can give you my opinion, but it doesn't count for anything. I'm simply a guy who transfers information from my eyes to my mouth to hopefully your ears. And if you want to have my opinion, I don't think there's any way that this could overly be inaccurate. Could there be some inaccuracies? I think there's inaccuracies in everything. Nothing, to me, all the science in the world, at some point they keep improving science, so it's never as good as it could be. Yes. So yes, somewhere, some way, someone voted one way and it got switched to another. I don't think that happened 5 million times. I don't even think that's conceivable to think it happened 5 million times, but that's just me. But my point about Parler is this. I think it's the hot new thing, and I don't think it grows legs. And the reason I say that, and I don't care if it doesn't affect me if it exists or not. I don't own any stock in it, I didn't create it, and I'm not joining it, not so much because I don't care about my right-wing friends, or not even necessarily that I'm not leaning to the right. It's just I don't want to maintain anything else. Like, to me, it seems like a place to go and complain to one another, to a sympathetic ear. And that's fine if that's what you're looking for. I mean, I guess when we're upset about anything, whether it be, anything from your cat died to you didn't win the lottery. I mean, we all complain about something.
Absolutely.
We all got things.
Yep.
And if that's your thing, and that's the thing that's gripping you so tightly that you want to complain about it to other people that are sympathetic to it, that's fine. Have at it. As long as it's simply a form of entertainment, because let's face it, social media is more than entertainment at this point. I mean, social media is a bona fide contender for advertising dollars, for information to be shared. I mean, it's not just when MySpace started, remember MySpace, Lola?
Yes.
I mean, you put your top 9 friends on the front, so if you got into a fight with your best friend, she was no longer on your Facebook or on your MySpace page, you took her off, and she wasn't in the top 9, and that was a big deal, and you put your favorite song on there, and that was simply for entertainment value.
Yeah.
Well, look at me, I'm listening to the new Justin Timberlake record. Hooray. Now it's obviously evolved into so much more than that. But my feeling about this Parler situation is, at some point, it's either going to grow tremendous legs and continue to help the division of our country, or you can only complain to the same people about the same thing so much. At some point, it may actually help exhaust the problems. And I'm not saying that you have to not like the outcome of it. You don't have to like the outcome of this. I'm not saying, and far be it for me to tell anybody what they should think about whatever candidate they want to. All I'm saying is, if the same people listen to the same things over and over again and the content never changes, that's what Lola and I are doing here. We're changing the content from yesterday's show, and this will be different content from tomorrow's show.
Right.
We change so you listen. I don't know that things are going to, eventually, this is all going to work out. And either Joe Biden's going to be the president, or they're going to find all this fraud and Donald Trump's going to be the president. Either way, it doesn't matter what you believe. But either way, I think this might be a good thing for those of us that are tired of hearing about it on the social media networks we choose to use.
Absolutely.
If this is a place that everybody that wants to talk about politics can go and complain to one another who wants to complain about it too, have at it. Why didn't we invent this 6 years ago, going into 2016? Please take a run at this. If all you want to do is get on a social media network that I'm active on, and you just want to complain about election or fraud or this or that, and this doesn't necessarily just straight up presidential election. I mean, you may not like that West Virginia went completely red. You're probably not going to go there. If you want to boast because West Virginia went all red, almost all red, I guess, whether it be Senate or whatever, go there and enjoy and celebrate it. But it takes away maybe some of the
glee.
It takes away some of the commenting that you and I are enduring that we don't want to see anymore.
Yeah.
You know, leading up to the election, it was the hottest thing in the world. It's still the biggest and most widely talked about subject in the world. But have at it. Have at it. And I don't know who created this. And can I look up who created it? Yes, I can. But at the end of the day, you have to wonder. This is that little bit of conspiracy twitch in me, I think. You know, was this a premeditated, we're launching this if we don't get what we want?
All right.
Whether it is or it isn't, I don't know. But reading some of these, and I'm not going to read because, me quoting Sally Smith of Tacoma, Washington doesn't do anything for us living here in Wheeling, West Virginia, but it seems to the quotes that I'm reading in the USA Today. So if you want to look up the article, it was in USA Today, is where I'm getting this information from. If you want to read these, it's kind of worth it. It's kind of worth it. It said, and I will read this quote because I think it's kind of poignant. Parler said in its November 7th community guidelines that it would not decide what content will be, quote, removed or filtered, or whose account will be removed on the basis of the opinion expressed within the content, end quote. So that means I could write
anything.
Lola's turned purple, and no one would even think for a second to question whether or not Lola is purple. Like it's just the most widely whatever you can think of. And I don't know that that's healthy. Like, interpreting something and skewing it the way you want it to read is one thing, but I think ultimately just putting flat out outlandish things with zero consequences, I think is going to hurt people down the road.
Did you happen to read what it says on Wikipedia? Now,
I didn't know.
Wikipedia.
I try not to go to Wikipedia to cite sources, but what does it say?
Well, it just says it's a United States-based microblogging and social networking service launched in August of 2018. Parler has significant user base of Trump supporters, conservatives, and Saudi nationalists. Posts on the website often contain far-right content, anti-Semitism, and conspiracy theories.
That is a slippery slope.
In Nevada, Henderson, Nevada.
That is a slippery slope, and it's based right outside of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I trust it. I trust that. I trust that all you can trust it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I
mean, it is Wikipedia.
Sure.
So
yeah, you can take everything. Again, Wikipedia maybe not the pinnacle of truth, but you find the information where you can find it. The article I read from was the USA Today's article in their technology section. And if you want to check it out, but if you start to see this pop up, I just wanted you guys to know what it was. Parler is a social media app. Coming up in the next 10 minutes or so, the old 2-9er, Phil Bork, stopping in to talk about Penguin hockey. This is The Watchdog.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
And commented on the close call between Joe Biden and President Trump.
Electors go to Washington on the 14th of December and elect the president. And that president will be sworn in on January 20th. That's our process. We'll do it all over again in 4 years.
President Trump not conceding the race. The Trump campaign launching more lawsuits. That's not stopping world leaders from calling to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. Among them, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who said he phoned Biden Tuesday night.
It was an excellent conversation that flowed over all the things that have really traditionally united the UK and the US. So it was a kind of return to the kind of business that we're used to doing together.
The UK marking a grim milestone. COVID deaths there now top 50,000. Here in the US, coronavirus cases also surging. According to the COVID tracking project, positivity rates increased in 36 states. Hospitalizations are also up in 43 states. You're listening to ABC News.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
With United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans, there's so much to take advantage of, like $0 copays on primary care doctor visits and lab tests.
Wow.
Plus $0 copays on virtual visits.
Wow.
It's time to take advantage.
Wow.
To learn more, visit AdvantageWow.com. That's AdvantageWow.com.
Benefits vary by plan and area. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Wow.
As Pfizer awaits FDA approval for its new COVID-19 vaccine, the drug maker preparing for the challenges in distributing millions of doses that have to be stored in freezers that keep them around 94 degrees below zero. FedEx preparing to distribute those doses. Richard Smith, president of the Americas region for FedEx Express, says they're up to the challenge.
We will be able to get a vaccine to every administration site or dosing center that is administering the vaccines to the American public in these communities where they are waiting for these vaccines.
New details about actress Lori Loughlin's life behind bars.
The Full House star, who was sentenced to 2 months in prison after pleading guilty for her role in the Varsity Blues college admissions scandal, reported to the Federal Correctional Institution in Dublin, California on October 30th. And like all current incoming inmates, has been isolating for 14 days due to coronavirus precautions. She is expected to move to general population as soon as she tests negative for the virus. Once part of the general population, she will be required to maintain a regular job assignment.
ABC's Eva Pilgrim. You never know what you'll find in the bottom of a drawer, right? Roy Smith, a PhD student in England, found a new species of prehistoric flying reptile in a museum drawer. The specimen was mislabeled as a shark fin skeleton. Smith identified the fossil as the tip of the beak of a new species of pterosaur, a creature that existed about 66 million years ago. This is ABC News.
What's in store this holiday at your local Staples?
Great deals on the hottest brands.
Staples has this year's must-have gifts for working or learning from home.
Like Apple AirPods, great for video conferences or online classes.
And now at Staples, Apple AirPods Pro are just $194. You save $55.
Shop in-store or pick up curbside.
Get the most wonderful deals on gifts this holiday at Staples.
Ends 11/14. In-store only. Limit 2 while supplies last. Curbside available in most stores.
Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Island Pawnbrokers is now your local firearm dealer. In a pinch? Need cash quick? See us before going to the big box stores. Paying top dollar for firearms, gold, silver, tools, coins, and electronics. Don't lose your good credit. Let us give you instant cash. Stop by 2 North Broadway Street on Wheeling Island, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Island Pawnbrokers. Stop in for instant cash.
The original Undo's in Benwood is the perfect place to enjoy the big game, great food, and the company around you. The outdoor patio is the best kept secret in Marshall County, featuring plenty of big screen HD TVs, an outdoor beer garden, and NFL and MLB packages so you don't miss a second of the action. With the holiday season fast approaching, don't forget about Undo's Catering. Perfect for holiday parties, family gatherings, conferences, weddings, or any event large or small. Check out undos.com for menus, specials, entertainment, and more. Undo's Family Restaurants, family owned since 1953.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Mostly cloudy with rain showers on and off through the day. Daytime high near 67. Your overnight low of 42 degrees under partly cloudy skies. You'll see clouds breaking for some sunshine as we head through your Thursday with highs in the lower 60s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. The afternoon drive continues with more news, sports, and talk on The Watchdog.
So appropriate, Lola decided to put on Kiss Let's rock and roll all night and party every day. I'd rather party down by the river all summer long with the old 2-9er, Phil Bork. Phil, you there?
I'm here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. It's good to have you on the air with us. And of course, we were supposed to talk about today a wonderful event that was going to happen this weekend at Franciscan University. And unfortunately, because Jefferson County is in the red in Ohio, it has been postponed. But we were going to rub elbows with some of the greats from the 1980 Olympic hockey team, and I know that you had a big involvement in that. You were going to be a part of that event.
Yeah, it is a disappointment. Just found out a couple days ago that because of the spike, it's not going to happen on the date that we thought it would be. Hopefully, it's in the spring when things settle down, and hopefully we have some kind of a cure or some kind of a medication to make this all go away. But yeah, it was going to be it is going to be a special night. It'll still happen with Craig Patrick, who was not only the general manager, the architect of the two cups in '91 and '92, but Mike Eruzione, who had the game-winning goal against the Russians, which propelled the USA hockey team in 1980 to the gold medal game against the Finns right after that. So yeah, it was going to be a special night. Kenny Morrow also was going to be there. New York Islander, longtime New York Islander defenseman, but more importantly, to tie this all together with USA Hockey, Kenny Morrow, also part of that 1980 Olympic hockey team. So it's all going to be steered, and the host is John Butchergrass. We all know Butchie from not only ESPN Sports Center, but he's a Pittsburgh guy, he's a Steubenville guy. So keep your eyes and ears open because it's still going to happen.
Absolutely, and we will we'll continue to track that because we're looking forward to it just as a hockey fan. I mean, I have vague memories of it only being 43, but I do have memories of it. And it kind of was the beginning of things that propelled me into playing hockey, and my parents actually noticing me taking an interest in hockey and getting me enrolled into learn to play at the Rostraver Ice Garden. And of course, when Mario gets drafted, the rest is hockey history in Pittsburgh as far as kids starting to get involved in hockey. But Phil, since that was such a big event, that the U.S. winning in 1980, just real quick, what were your reflections on that as we're at 40 years ago that it happened?
Oh boy, it's tough to kind of summarize that in just a sentence or two. So I'll try to keep it short. I was a senior in high school. In February, I was at a high school game, and I was on my way back home. I remember being with my dad in the car, driving on the highway, and us pulling over on the highway because the signal was not great to listen to the game. And so everybody kind of did the same thing. We all pulled over on the highway in the breakdown lane because we knew the signal was going in and out, and that's where we had to stop right there to get the strong signal. And I remember when the game was over, everybody was honking their horn and flashing their lights. It was a special thing. And for me, being a U.S. kid, growing up just outside of Boston, my dream was always to play in the NHL. And so that just kind of propelled my belief that anything could happen. And, I don't know how much you know my story, but I was never drafted. I was, always told, oh, that Bork kid, he'll never make it. And that's what kind of motivated me was all the naysayers. But when I saw the USA hockey team win gold in 1980, it sparked something in me to just believe that anything was possible.
Phil, you brought up something that I want to ask, and I know that you'll have a wonderful answer to it, not to set you up, but for a guy that wasn't supposed to be drafted, your name is on the most famous trophy in the history of sports. And does that ever get old? I mean, does that ever really even sink in that they said you weren't going to make it to the NHL and your name is on the cup multiple times? Does that ever get old?
No, it never gets old. And, I'm not one that really needs my horn tooted or a pat in the back or anything, but I'll be honest with you, I've done hundreds, if not thousands of different interviews with different people, and no, it never gets old to get introduced because of everything you have to go through. And just you bringing it up, it brings back all the memories of, my relationship with my dad. It was, an abusive relationship, and But he did a lot of good. He really pushed me hard and established a work ethic in me that I still have to this day. And the early morning practices and freezing cold rinks, and your feet hurting because they were so cold. I mean, all those things just kind of rush back into your head. So, to get to the top of the mountain not only once but twice, and now 3 times as a broadcaster, and to have 5 rings, no, flat out, it doesn't get old, and I love talking about it.
Do people realize how special the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise is outside of Pittsburgh? I mean, being a fan of this team, and talking to you, even though I have met you in person, talking to you in a professional manner, and you talking about being on Cup teams reminds me of being a kid watching Cup teams and you being on those Cup teams. And that doesn't get old as a fan. But I don't know that I think people expect more from the Penguins franchise in almost to an unreasonable manner because of the level of success of this team. But universally, do people realize how successful this franchise is, and are the expectations for it even realistic?
I'll answer the last part first. Are the expectations realistic? I think when you still have a Sidney Crosby and a Evgeny Malkin and a Chris Letang as part of your foundation, then yes, I think the expectations are still there that this is a team that's built to win now and can still win another Stanley Cup, if not a couple, depending on a lot of things going right. Number one would be the health of players that are in their mid-30s. To get back to your previous point, I do take a lot of pride in that. To still be a part of the organization now as a broadcaster, my time as a player, which was 10 years from 82 to 92. If you remember, and it might be a little before your time, in the early 80s, I mean, there was people that went to the Penguins games and wore brown paper bags on their heads with holes cut out because they didn't want to be seen on the 11 o'clock news and the highlights because you'd be made fun of for going to see the Penguins because they were so bad back then. And until Mario arrived, Mario Lemieux in '84, we were a bit of the laughingstock of the league and of the city, especially when you had, the Pirates that won in '79, all the Super Bowls that the Steelers were winning at the time. We were really the ugly sister that nobody really wanted to be a part of. But a lot of that changed. And so, yeah, I take a lot of pride saying I'm a part of the Pittsburgh Penguins still, knowing that we have won 5 Stanley Cups between 1991 and 2017. That's more than any other team in the league during that time frame.
I mean, it's just flat out remarkable what this team has been able to do. And yeah, it was a little bit before my time to know how bad things were, other than to see pictures and hear stories about the early 80s. But describe to me, if you could, that feeling when you knew that you were going to play hockey with Mario, because you had to know that things were going to change. And I don't know if anybody could have known how truly great he was going to be. I don't even think you can overestimate how great of a player he was, and probably still is. I mean, he probably looks like he could lace him up today.
No, I know. He probably could. He could run a power play, that's for sure. And, I actually was on another show recently and asked the question about Lemieux versus Gretzky, the 2 greatest players ever. It's all about your definition. It's all about what kind of lens you look through and your definition of great player. If it's just offense, then, maybe Gretzky's your guy. I mean, he just has blown everybody away. Has more assists than the next guy has points. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of points that he put up. But, for me, Mario just played for one team. Wayne played for L.A. and Edmonton and the Rangers and St. Louis. I'm not going to say he bounced around, but he played for different teams. And then, Mario was a complete player. Mario was physical. Mario could take face-offs. He could block shots, kill penalties. He could just do it all. So, yeah, he kind of changed everything for the Penguins, and he continues now in an ownership role.
I don't think there's a better story in pro sports for one person on one team than there will. I don't think that story can be written in the future either. I mean, what somebody can do from 1984, save a team multiple times, lead them to 5 Stanley Cups, and it's not over yet. I don't know how this story will ultimately end, but I hope I'm not even around to see it because I never want it to end.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there were some whispers a few years ago that Mario and Ron Burkle, who are the two more well-known owners, there are a minor group also, but those are the kind of lead guys that are out there. And there were some whispers that maybe, the team was to be sold. It was on the block, that they kind of dangled it out there, but that's been taken off the table from what I understand. But yeah, I have a hard time believing that, and even if the team gets sold to another owner, I have a hard time believing that Mario wouldn't be involved in some role because he's the face of the franchise. And, the other part that I was also asked about Mario is, what is his legacy? And the first thing you think of is great goal scorer, all the assists and the big goals and the Stanley Cups and all that. But I'll be honest with you, I think his legacy, what he would want it to be, is what he's done off the ice with the Lemieux Foundation that partners up with the Penguins Foundation, and especially for kids. Mario's son Austin was born severely premature, and so that's a soft spot for Mario, especially when it comes to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh and Austin's Playroom. I mean, you can Google it all and go more in depth than I'm going to. But I think that's more than the cups and the playing. I think he wants to be known for again, staying in Pittsburgh his whole life, still lives in Swickley in the same house. His kids were all born here. He takes so much pride in that. Could he have gone to the Montreal Canadiens or some other team and made 2, 3, 4, 5 times more than he made? Absolutely. But he did, because his heart is here in Pittsburgh, and he continues to this day, through his foundation, continues to help people that aren't as well off as you and I.
Yeah, and one more Mario question. I want to switch gears into the current team. And it's not even really a question, but when you started to talk about Mario off the ice and just the things that he did, the hair on my arm stands up when I think about the video piece that I've seen 100 times about him getting treatment and then traveling to Philadelphia and the fans cheering him. Like, I'm borderline choked up talking about that because if I ever need a pick-me-up or I feel sorry for myself, I'm going to watch that over and over again. It still affects me. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing.
To have the type of cancer that he had, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and to go through your last radiation treatment in the morning or early afternoon, whatever it was, and then hop on a private plane to get your butt to Philadelphia, throw the skates on, and to not only play a game, but I think at the time he was 15 points behind Pat LaFontaine in the scoring race. He ended up not only catching LaFontaine, but won the scoring race by 15 points. I mean, it's stuff that movies are made out of. But if you've ever met Mario, he doesn't want that. He's not a guy that loves the limelight. Some people take it as standoffish. It's more of a shyness and just a incredible amount of humility that he has, and just the way he carries himself. But yeah, I could go on and on and on and tell you how many times I saw things behind the scenes that nobody else saw, and how much pain he was in with his back and everything else that he went through just to lace the skates up. Never mind go out there and dominate the way he did. It was just an incredible amount of will is what it was, and want and passion and heart and courage and all the words you want to use that make Mario so great. To what he overcame to not only win as a player, but to continue to win as an owner and a proud citizen of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Watching you guys play around him too was pretty inspiring as far as that goes. We're talking to the old 2-Niner, Phil Bourque. Let's move into the 2020-2021 team. Obviously, it's a much different roster than we ended in the bubble with. What do you see on this roster, Phil, that you like? We can, and there's no reason to disparage somebody who's gone, but boy, Penguin fans treated Jack Johnson very poorly in his time here and then out the door. And my fear is that Ceci may get that hung on him. And I hope that's not the case. What kind of potential do you see in him? And what do you see on the roster in these moves that you're a big fan of?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I could go on for half an hour and just talk about all the changes from, upper management. Jason Karmanos, who is the assistant GM, is let go. You bring in Patrick Alvin, who is the head of your amateur scouting. He's now an assistant GM. All three assistant coaches let go, Jacques Martin, Sergei Gonchar, Mark Recchi. You bring in Mike Felucci and Todd Reardon as new assistant coaches. And that's just off the ice. I mean, but to answer your question, what I see is a younger, faster team that's going to be hungry to win. I'm not going to say, guys like Patrick Hornquist that were moved to Florida or guys like Justin Schultz that was an unrestricted free agent that moved on to the Washington Capitals, didn't want to win anymore. But there's something about, this is coming out the wrong way, I know it is. These players weren't complacent, but also change can be good, and especially in this day and age, I think you need it. And I think that's what Jimmy Rutherford, the general manager, has done, is he's brought in, guys like Cody Ceci, as you mentioned, a right-hand shooting defenseman. And the reason why I don't think he's going to get as beat up by the Penguins fans as Jack Johnson did, because he's on a low-money one-year contract.
Sure.
Jack, as soon as he came in with that 6-year contract at over $3 million, people never really gave him a chance, which I thought was really unfair because he wasn't that bad. Could he have been better? Absolutely. But it's just a young, hungry team now. I think we're younger and we're faster, and we have a nice blend still with, the veteran guys of Crosby, Letang, and Malkin. And, he's got a young goaltender, too, in Tristan Jarry. So there's just a lot of hope and a lot of hungry players on this team to bring another championship to the Berg.
Do you think the Penguins made the right move spending now 2 number 1 draft picks on Kapanen? Is he the right guy to bring back and spend that kind of commodity on?
I don't want to doubt Jimmy Rutherford because every time I do, he proves me wrong. I thought it was a lot, to be honest with you. Kapanen, he really got shuffled down the lineup, down the totem pole, if you will, in Toronto because of all the high-priced, super talented players, forwards that they have there. It's understandable. But Jimmy Rutherford does his homework, not only on the player but also the person. This is a really long answer to your short question, but it was a lot. First-round pick for Kapanen, even though he was a former first-round pick of the Penguins that they traded to Toronto in the Phil Kessel deal, to get him back for a 15th overall pick was a lot. We'll see. He's going to play with Sidney Crosby. I know that much on the right side, and so it's going to give him a great chance. He's super talented. You can't deny the raw talent that he has, the speed, the shot, the playmaking. It's all there. He's just got an unbelievable opportunity to put it all together. It's to be determined, to be seen. I think obviously you haven't seen them play together yet, Crosby and you of course you have Jake Gensel on the other side, but Kasperi Kapanen on that right side. It's got the potential to be an incredible line that could easily get you 110 goals if we play an 82-game schedule.
Boy, that is a lethal thought, is it not? I mean, that's a big moment for Kapanen, and he was in his place with Austin Matthews. He had superstars around him, but I don't know if he had anybody like Sid that could help him develop. I mean, I think back to just us talking about Lemieux, like Robert Dome became a player because he was out there with Mario. And if Kapanen can become that because he can feed off of what Sid and Jake already have in their momentum, maybe this turns out to be something that 2 years from now, I talk to you again and we're like, remember when we thought that might not have been too much? You know what I mean? It has so much potential. And you have to love the things that Gensel does. And it's hard to keep in mind that Jake Gensel is still really young. He can grow. I mean, it's going to be an opportunity for those guys. And Phil, I wanted to ask you real quick. I know you got other things going on today, but I just wanted to ask you because I have this argument with my friends constantly, and I figured if I could get your expertise on this, I would want to know for my Saturday night sitting around a fire, socially distanced, of course, from my buddies. If you were to create a Mount Rushmore of Penguins other than Mario and Sid, who are your other two?
Other two? Oh, boy.
Because I assume Mario and Sid were on that list.
I think you got to put Jágr on there. I do. I mean, some people will debate that, because he played on some teams that we all love to hate, the Rangers and the Capitals and the Flyers. And He's with the Devils for a little bit, but he was great when he was here, and he deserves to be up there. If you're looking for one more guy that I would put, and boy, you got a whole bunch of Hall of Famers to choose from Paul Coffey and Joey Mullen, but a guy for me, and because he makes his home now in Pittsburgh, I have a soft spot for this guy because we played together, we won together, would be Mark Recchi. He's a Hall of Famer. He just got inducted into Hall of Fame. The longevity, to help bring a cup here in '91, and as I mentioned, he was just an assistant coach here. It's hard to really pick one. I mean, some people, as much as he was disliked because of his personality, Tom Barrasso, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's another guy. But Larry Murphy, another guy in the Hall of Fame. But if I'm going to go Sid, Mario, Yager, and then one guy after that, I might go with the Wrecking Ball.
You know what? It's funny, in our conversations that I have just sitting around, Recchi doesn't usually come up. And
No, we didn't even talk about Gino, did we?
We didn't talk about Gino, and honestly, one of the guys that I have a hard time, if nothing else, if he's not my fourth, he's my fifth, is Ron Francis. Ron Francis is, like, to me, the consummate hockey professional. I mean, if you had, and I'm not asking you to do this, but there's A-plus stars, and there's only a few of them in the world, and the Penguins honestly have had 3 of them, maybe 4 if you put Malkin into that count. But I think if you're looking for A-minus stars in the world of hockey, I don't know how you look past Ron Francis on any of that.
I agree.
And he continues his hockey career and now has, I don't know how close of a personal relationship you have with Ron, but, he's got another big opportunity in Seattle, a place that obviously wants hockey desperately.
Yeah, he's a great GM. He'll have a lot of success there with the Kraken out in Seattle, not this year, but the following year. And you're right. You're talking about a complete player that did it all, put up huge numbers. And then if you also tie in, and I think you have to, what kind of person was he? Did he spend time in the community? Did he go above and beyond? That was Ronnie Francis, the gentleman of all gentlemen, as well as a great leader and a great hockey player. Maybe that's the guy. Maybe that's your fourth guy.
Well, I appreciate your insight. I know those couple of buddies I have these conversations with are sitting around and listening to the show today, so at least I have somebody to back up my argument. Phil, thank you so much for taking the time. I realized, we didn't get necessarily to get to the finish line with the Franciscan University event, but we will get there. We will have a couple of these great guys. Morrow and Craig Patrick is going to be there. Mike Ruzioni, is going to inform us about what it must have felt like to score that goal and something that changed hockey here in America, and honestly changed America as a whole for the better when America needed something to look forward to. I look forward to that conversation, seeing you again. And just real quick, are we going to play hockey this season? Because I'm real nervous. I know we have the Nailers starting December 12th, and that's great for us here in Wheeling, but we are going to see some NHL hockey, right?
I sure hope so, and I'm hearing some positive things. Stay tuned. From what I understand, there's a big meeting tomorrow on Thursday between the Players Association and the league and the owners, and they're trying to figure out something. They're still talking about starting on January 1st. I don't think it's going to be 82 games. I think if we can get 75 or 72 in, I think that could help a lot of these teams with how much money that they've lost over this time. I think there will be NHL hockey. I think it'll start with no fans, maybe in a bit of a roving bubble, if you will. But stay tuned. I know the league is doing everything they can to get NHL hockey. It's great that the East Coast and the Nailers are having hockey, and there's a lot of hope and a lot of promise and a lot of people crossing their fingers that we have NHL hockey again soon.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. There's a reason that everybody likes you, Phil, and I think we just spent 20 minutes finding out why. You're just a good dude to talk to. I could talk to you all day. So thank you.
I agree.
Thank you so much, and I'll hopefully talk to you soon. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the upcoming holidays.
Yeah, sounds good. Happy holidays to you and all your listeners and all the Penguins fans out there. I appreciate it. This was fun. I enjoyed it. It was.
Thank you.
Hockey talk.
Thank you so much, Phil. We really appreciate it. The old 2-9er, Phil Bork. Lola, is he just the best or what?
I've enjoyed listening to him the times we've had him on. Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk to him all day, and when you see him, if you run into him somewhere, oftentimes I'll go to, and of course we are your home for Penguins hockey here at the Watchdog. When I would see him at like Seven Springs, we all go for the affiliate meeting. I mean, he's just that guy. If you sat next to him at the bar, said, hey, Phil, you have that 20-minute conversation about anything you want to talk about. He's just that much fun. The old 2-9er Phil Bork, of course, the Penguins, fingers crossed for January 1. The Nailers, for sure, December 12th. Season starts right here in Wheeling. We'll be back with more on the Watchdog.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge. Hey! Hey, buddy! Yeah? You got 2 Coors Lights up there?
You got it!
Always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go. 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure. I mean, you being a mountain climber and all.
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah!
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Babies come with lots of decisions.
Cloth or disposable? Crib or bassinet?
So when it comes to protection, go with the safest, most effective choice, vaccination. Get all the recommended vaccines for your baby by age 2 to protect your child against 14 serious childhood diseases. For more reasons to vaccinate, talk to your child's doctor. Go to cdc.gov/vaccines or call 800-CDC-INFO. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm loving living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
Hello, I'm Chuck Reddick, Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. We're working hard to get ready for tax filing season. You know who else is working hard? Identity thieves. Keep your computers and your mobile phones secure. Use antivirus software and strong passwords. Look out for email scams. Secure your home Wi-Fi with a password. Stay safe when you shop online. Look for HTTPS in the web address. See irs.gov for details.
Island Pawnbrokers is now your local firearm dealer. In a pinch? Need cash quick? See us before going to the big box stores. Paying top dollar for firearms, gold, silver, tools, coins, and electronics. Don't lose your good credit. Let us give you instant cash. Stop by 2 North Broadway Street on Wheeling Island, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Island Pawnbrokers. Stop in for instant cash.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Chris Lawrence. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month has arrived, the moment each year we pause to remember all who have served the country. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, celebrations of Veterans Day are different this year. Charleston holding a virtual service today honoring vets in a pair of wreath-laying ceremonies this hour, and earlier a virtual address for veterans from Major General Jason Baum, commander of the Marine Corps Training Command at Quantico.
Whether drafted or a volunteer, enlisted or an officer, each lived by a code and made a commitment to us. And for that, I and our great nation are forever thankful to our veterans.
In Ripley, the ceremony is happening now on the courthouse square following a parade that did include participants and spectators. But organizer Mike Rubin with the Ripley CVB says it's a tradition they thought was important to keep going.
This will be our 13th year for the Veterans Day Parade in Ripley, and we're very proud of the tradition that we're establishing there. We've had the Clydesdale horses were there one year, and we've had Woody Williams there another year, and we have some special guests lined up again for 2020.
This year's Speaker Shirley White, president of the West Virginia Gold Star Mothers. In other news, tech giant Microsoft raising serious concerns about the state's new $8 million contract with Google Cloud. In a 3-page letter to the governor, Microsoft contends the contract with Google calls for them to do a lot of the same work covered in the state's contract with Microsoft. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. The state volleyball tournament will go forward, but it will happen without 3 Putnam County teams who qualified. Players from Hurricane, Winfield, and Buffalo all petitioned a Kanawha County court to stop the tournament that starts tomorrow, challenging the color-coded map that has now precluded them from participating. The litigants claim that volleyball, an all-girls sport, was being denied equal protection since football teams were given an extra week for the map to change and enable their participation in postseason play. Judge Kerry Webster, in an emergency hearing, sided with the SSAC and dismissed the petition. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
Before getting started with the morning show with Howard Monroe, listen to the latest breaking news, traffic, and weather updates with WTRF's live news broadcast. Weekdays beginning at 6 a.m. only on the Watchdog.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to The Watchdog. It's 4:40. Thanks again to the old 2-9er, Phil Borg, for calling in. Great, insightful hockey talk about the upcoming Penguins season. Sounds like there's going to be some action taken by the NHL. Maybe tomorrow we'll have at least some movement by the end of the week.
Now,
the NHL.
during the Jim Robinson.
It's all right. It's all right. Buttons will get pressed. So hopefully we'll have some NHL news by the end of the week. According to the old 2-9er, still targeting that January 1 date. Other things we want to push out there too. Ohio State versus Maryland football canceled for this Saturday. Maryland is putting their football program on pause temporarily, which sounds like to me could be the rest of the season. And we've got a phone call. Let's talk to Charles in Weirton. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Hey, I listen to the host on this show all the time. It's a great radio station, and I was listening to your show today, and it's been really great. And I think I love the little banner that you have with Lola. I think that's been really great, and it's been a nice mix. You know, talking a little politics, a little sports. It's been fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, this is a great format, and I don't know how much insightful radio information that you might have, but we're very lucky here in this region, in the Upper Ohio Valley here, to have a radio station like the Watchdog. This doesn't exist everywhere. Having live and local hosts. I mean, having people with the experience of Howard Monroe and Bill DeFabio, that doesn't just happen. Of course, Hoppy Kercheval, who is statewide, but this is so West Virginia centric and really crucial to this area. So not only do we appreciate the kind words, but thank you for listening and acknowledging the fact that this is a cool station with a cool vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, the one thing I wanted to say was your thoughts on Veterans Day. I thought that was really great. And you said your buddy who wasn't a veteran said that be the kind of citizen worth fighting for. And I really took that to heart. I think that that's a good line of unity that we desperately need right now. I really appreciate that. And I think getting the journalists that you had, and also the old 2-9er. I mean, what a guy! I want to go and have a beer with that guy. I mean, he is that kind of guy, you know. So I just wanted to say it's been a great show, good commentary, and I feel like this is a good function and a good show to have right now. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Charles. We appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I mean, having a couple of things that you brought up was kind of as we wrap up the show here with about 15 minutes left. You know, the beginning of the show opened, if anybody missed it, with the idea of, today is Veterans Day, and when I wished my friend a happy Veterans Day, which I don't even know if happy is the way we should wish people well on Veterans Day. And if you have another suggestion, anybody feel free to say so. But I think a thankful, an appreciation for Veterans Day. So when I said, thank you for your service and happy Veterans Day, and his response was, if you really want to thank a veteran, be the kind of citizen that is worth fighting for. And I don't know, Charles, are you a veteran by chance?
Oh no. Didn't go that route. Went right into the mill, and you take that buddy of yours. Maybe I think that you said that you guys are on different political spectrums, and I think that that's good. That's healthy for the country. But you guys get along, over some certain things, and it brings me to this guy that I know. I worked with him at the mill, and I see him walking, and he's wearing a Joe Biden hat, and I know him. He's a good guy. He's got a good family. He goes to church. Always a hardworking guy. And now maybe he makes a little too strong a wine at the wine taste down on it, but he's a good guy. And am I going to take away all the good things that I think about him just because he's voting the other way? I don't think so. I think that maybe it's a good thing that we view the person as an individual and not necessarily one side or the other or whatever hat they wear.
No, I mean, we all have to live here. I mean, just centralizing it right to where we are right now. I mean, we're in downtown Wheeling. You're going to see people on both sides of this. I mean, I don't even want to call it this because this is all of us. We're allowed to have difference of opinions, and yes, my friend that I was talking to, and I honestly, he's part of even the conversation I had with Phil Bork, one of the guys I sit around and talk hockey with all the time. I don't ever look at another person and care if they're red or blue. You may have some difference in opinion of how I think maybe the country should run, or even and we keep pointing to just the presidential race. We've got Senate, we've got all kinds of things and all kinds of people affecting the way this country moves forward, the way our state moves forward. I mean, for a perfect example, Joe Manchin and Jim Justice are very different people in many, many ways. But they also have similarities, and they are, whether you like what they're doing or not, everyone is pro-West Virginia here. We're all trying to get West Virginia to a better place, whether you're working in the mill, whether you're sitting behind this microphone, whether you're out there delivering a pizza, whatever it is. If we just keep fist fighting each other verbally, you're not going to be able to talk to your friend at the mill. I'm not going to be able to talk hockey with my friends. And eventually, we're all just going to talk about the same damn thing over and over and over again until we all resent each other and don't want to talk anymore. And if we get to that point, we're not what the United States of America was supposed to be. I mean, I don't know anything about where you come from other than Lola said you're from Weirton, but I know plenty of people in Weirton. And we all are mixed and blended with different cultures and different things. I just don't understand how we can let this thing, I mean, for so long, I grew up in Clareton, Pennsylvania, which is a mill town. Pretty similar to Weirton in a lot of ways, actually. And,
oh, yeah.
And my friends were of every different, ethnic background, every different one. And that never occurred to us. It never occurred to us. You know why? Because if you threw me the baseball, I caught it. And it didn't matter what you believed in, where you went to church. It had nothing to do with it. I didn't even think it. Like, I like, and Lola, you're welcome to chime in on this as well. I like that I never thought about those things. I honestly liked being naive enough to never know or care that my friend over here was Jewish, or my friend was this, or my friend was Polish. I didn't know. And I don't know if that makes me too naive. It made me naive as a 43-year-old man, but maybe I know now, and I still don't care. I don't care what I just want. Like, I guess be cool, I guess, is the thing you can say. Just I can't turn around and make someone win an election. I can't turn around and make someone think the way that I think. All I can do is be cool to you in every situation and hope that you're cool back.
Just respect what the other person feels and thinks. That's all. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Just respect what other people think.
Too, I don't look at somebody's hat if I'm going to hold the door for them.
No.
Or if they're checking out my groceries. I don't care about their political background. I just treat them as a human being. The only thing that I would say about holding the door is if I'm holding it, hustle up a little bit. If you're in that zone where you might have to do the little shuffle toward the door, that's all that I'm at.
Well, that is a delightful way to end this conversation. Charles, thanks for calling in, man. What a cool thing, and we appreciate your kind comments. And hey, man, just be cool with everybody, and they'll be cool back, I hope.
Sounds good. Thanks. Great show, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you so much. Well, that was nice, Lola. Yeah. All right. I mean, if one thing, if I would leave here today as we wrap up this show, I'll feel like made somebody's day.
Absolutely.
I'll take that. That in 2020, that's a win. That's a win. If you get to midnight and get a chance to start another day, and somehow you made somebody else's day, you won the day.
Absolutely.
You won the day.
Absolutely.
So just a rundown of things that we did learn today. A lot of great deals out there. A lot of free opportunities that you can partake in if you are a veteran. Complete list over at our news partners, WTRF.com. You can just click on the story. It says real big, veteran freebies. So look that up. Get there and go out and enjoy. And between Applebee's and Chili's and there's a lot of places that are willing to do their part. And I mean, honestly, some of them, I hope all of them are doing it with the right intentions. Some of them may just do it to get their name mentioned in places like this, but I don't think so. I think their hearts
here. Not
around here. Their hearts are in the right place. Take them up on it. If you have a veteran in your family, everybody go out and have dinner together. Let them get a free meal. Trust me, they earned it. And if you've ever eaten an MRE, even though I've never served, I have eaten an MRE. I used to work at an Army surplus store. Mm-hmm. It is the worst thing on the planet. They deserve a good free meal. Take them out. Again, WTRF.com has the complete details of all of those places. Again, we're looking at the map of positive hotspots, COVID cases in West Virginia. We are still waiting to find out what football teams are in and out. All that information is at metronews.com. And, the teams are set. Will they get to play is another question in our area. Well, namely for this station, John Marshall and Wheeling Central, I would tell you what to expect, but I don't know.
I know.
When we get into the weekend, so a lot of pressure put on Biff and Lola and the folks here to make sure that, every minute that could change. So if the games happen, we'll carry them. Keep that in mind. But this affects a lot of local teams in our region. We're at Madonna, which Wheeling Central, Oak Glen, John Marshall, Wheeling Park, and also in Fort Fry over in Ohio. I know some of the Stephen Allen Adams, who joined us earlier today from the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers around the state, mentioned that Governor DeWine in Ohio is giving his kind of his take on everything. And Steve mentioned it's possible he may be leaning towards a mask mandate for the state of Ohio as far as that goes. Again, how do these things get enforced? We don't know, because Steve made it sound like Governor Justice doesn't have the plan to do that or think he even has the authority to enforce such a thing. But it sounds like Ohio could possibly get that. Obviously, that'll be updated as the day and tomorrow goes on. Yeah. But we'll see. I guess in my mind, if I thought, and I do think it helps, I'll be honest with you. People that don't wear the mask, I get, you can be mad all you want about it, but the other day, I'll give this to you as an example. I mean, one of the things about being on the radio is to, share who you are, share a piece of who you are. So the other day, Lola, I had to go visit my mom who is in a nursing home. And I haven't been able to hug my mom for 8 months. For 8 months. And her friend passed away from leukemia. So I had to go tell my mom through a plastic sheet that her friend passed away. And when my mom started to cry, I couldn't hug her. And so if someone said to me, if everybody wore a mask, you're going to be able to hug your mom a lot sooner because this thing could get under control, I would do it all day, every day. And other than when we're in here and Lola and I are at least 10 feet apart as we sit in the studio, I do. I wear it everywhere I go. And honestly, I don't go that many places because I don't want this. I don't want it. I don't want to give it to anybody that I love, and I don't want to live through it. Hopefully, if I got it, live through it. But when people just refute the science of it, I didn't know how many scientists I knew. That's what I mean. It was like, I'm not doing it.
Isn't it amazing? How many people came.
It is. It is amazing to me. But I just, again, sit in the seat of someone who can't hug their sick mom and know it's the most frustrating thing you can go through as someone who loves their mom. And I don't know when I'll be able to do it again. At least I can see her, but she's in her golden age. She's not buying green bananas, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. I get it.
And I better get that chance again. And wear the mask. Wear it. Let's get this under control. If you want to watch football on Friday night, if your motivation is watching Wheeling Central play football on a Friday night and getting to the Super Six and playing these games,
wear your mask.
Wear your mask. Wear your mask. Yep. We read stories about how people are begging other people who aren't sick to go get tests to increase the negative numbers in a county to move it into a better color to get football games to happen. There's an easier way than using resources that other people do need when they are sick, asymptomatic, pre-symptomatic, who need those tests. There is a simpler way, a much simpler way. Wear your mask.
Yeah.
Get there. Get there. We'll get to that point if we do. So, football is a lot of our motivation. Lola and I both love football. We want to watch football, but not at the sacrifice of the resource. West Virginia doesn't have what other states have. We don't. We've got to be particular about making sure that all our resources go to things that immediately need those resources until the next thing is needed. And so people going out and encouraging other people to use tests just because they know they're negative to make better numbers to watch football, to me, is insanity. It's just absolute insanity. Didn't mean to go absolutely crazy there, but
that's all right.
I'm crazy.
See, I have a slightly different thing. You're doing all these free tests, and yes, people are really trying to drive the numbers down. Take 60 of those tests and go test Central, the football team. Take 60 and go to Park. It's that easy. if you don't have any positives on your football team and the team you're going to play has no positives, what is the problem with letting, you don't have to let people in.
No.
Just let the kids play.
Yeah,
They've
technology
worked-
exists that everybody can watch that game from home.
And these kids, some of these kids, the seniors, have worked all their high school careers toward, particularly if you're in the running for a state championship.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is a no-brainer.
I
You
agree.
got all these test kits out there. Take 60 of them and go. You don't even need 60 for some of these schools.
No, I mean, you're talking about a Class A school. You're talking about Madonna.
How many kids are on the team?
Yeah,
25?
Exactly. Test the kids and coaches. I don't even think you're at 60.
No, and Parks kids have been self-quarantining since the beginning. They've been doing online school all year, just the football team, to keep themselves safe and follow protocol so that they can play.
Yeah.
Now the kids are working hard at this.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, well, we gotta go.
All right. Want to shout out to the old 2-9er, Phil Bork again. For Lola, I'm Rick. This is The Watchdog.
FM 98.1, AM 6.